was walking around the city today. Went and got my passport updated. So, gonna be doing, hopefully, gonna be doing some traveling. We'll see. We'll see how it all works out. Everything seems to be up and running and going, and here we are. All right. Hope everything's going really well out there in TikTok land. Hopefully everything's going really well out there on YouTube and streaming around and doing all the stuff that everybody wants to be doing. Oh, I have to say, man, I'm having a beautiful time. I am having a beautiful time. It's a tough world. We're all having a tough time. That everything is kind of looking pretty ridiculous constantly. That's like the entire theme of my show, is that everything's ridiculous all of the time. And so hopefully we're all coming together, and hopefully we're all here. Good to see you guys. What do we got? Lisa Hart is in the chat. We got just waiting for people to come on in on the YouTube chat as well. I'm starting a little bit early today, and I feel like we're all just kind of coming together, getting used to the idea and getting ready for the idea that, like, hey, have you noticed it's a catastrophe? Have you noticed how catastrophic everything is? Have you noticed how ridiculous everything is? Have you noticed how absurd everything is? Evening, that guy. How you doing, bud? I've noticed it. I've noticed how ridiculous everything is. So I'm trying to just soothe people's minds and soothe people's hearts as we go through this bloody apocalypse. And so I'm going to dedicate this one to the lovely lady who knows who this is for, and to anybody out there looking for love in this ridiculous world. This one goes out to you. You fill up my senses like a night in the forest, like the mountain in springtime, like a walk in the rain, like a storm in the desert, like a sleepy blue ocean. You fill up my senses, come fill me again. Come, let me love you, let me give my life to you. Let me drown in your laughter, let me die in your arms. Let me lay down beside you. Let me always be with you. Come, let me love you. Come, love me again. You fill up my senses like a night in the forest, like the mountains in springtime, like a walk in the rain, like a storm in the desert, like a sleepy blue ocean. You fill up my senses, come fill me again. Beautiful song by a beautiful writer, John Denver. Hope you guys are all doing well out there in the world. Kevin Alexander, good to see you, bud. Good to see you, good to see you, good to see you, Conrad. Yeah, the fire's hot. Time to return to Monkey. Yeah, it got warm real fast. It got warm real fast here in the city of Toronto. I tell you what, it's like a big turnaround real quickly. It's going to be a blazing hot summer, I think. It's going to be a blazing hot summer, I think. We're going to see big wildfires, guys. We're going to see big wildfires this year. It's going to be a big conflagration. It's going to be nonsense across the board, and I don't think there's anything we can do to stop it from happening. So we might as well just enjoy the catastrophe, right? We might as well just enjoy the catastrophe. When has communism ever worked? The classic, the classic. Literally, the country that's overtaking the United States right now is run by the Communist Party of China. Like, come on, dude. Like, come on. When has communism has ever worked, except for this exact moment when it's completely working 100%? Okay. Conrad, I don't know what you're saying. Good. Did you not know you spec politics und music too? Oh, music. Yeah, I play music, dude. I have a lot of songs that I myself have written. I feel like I fell out of singing on this channel, but I feel like it's coming back. I feel like the music is coming back, and I'm trying to get it more integrated. I think that's. I think about like what are the skills that I have to bring to the revolution? What do I have to give besides just my time, besides just my voice? Because I feel like there's lots of people who are catching up with me in regards to the voice. I'm seeing it more and more around, right? That what I am saying is becoming more and more commonly understood. But the one thing that I've got that lots of people don't have is my voice and my music. That's the thing that I can bring that makes it more special. Yep. Still have good music, man. Thank you. I appreciate that, Conrad. I appreciate that. So you're going to be hearing more about that on the channel. You're going to be hearing me play more often on the channel. Thanks for coming in. And hey, if you guys like, and some of you, if you just say, hey, John, play this song, I probably will. Because a lot of you guys, I know, appreciate the music. That guy says, that's the fossil fuel industry zeitgeist. Before it was shifting blame and telling people to mind their carbon footprint. Now it's, we're fucked anyway, so have fun, douchebags. Yeah, that's kind of, you're right about that. Like, what we should all be saying is incarcerate these psychopaths, right? Like, all of them. Like, if you work for the fossil fuel industry, you should be, like, we should be doing a big tribunal. We should be getting people in front. Like, it should be very much like the Hague panels. Like, we should be asking these people, like, so when did you know? And why did you decide to do nothing? Like, and we should have it for posterity. We should hear it from their mouths. The reasons why they condemned humanity this way. And then we should hang a lot of them, right? And we should, if not hang them, then we should definitely throw them in holes and forget where they are. Like that sort of thing. Because these people are obviously psychopaths. And there's no reason to discuss it any other way. Like, there's no reason to be like, John, that's quite strong. Like, shut up. Like, shut up. You're being a baby. You're being an apologist for these people. Like, they are obviously psychopathic. They've obviously disconnected from reality. They're obviously walking around being like, but number goes up. The fake money we all invented. Money go up, number good. And it's just like, yeah, bro, too bad. Like, too bad for you. These people should have, at barest minimum, if you don't agree with all the rest of that, at the very, very barest minimum, these people should have all of their assets removed. They should not be responsible for this industry anymore. They should simply cease to be important people in the society. They should not own property. They should not own these businesses, certainly. And they should the fossil fuel industry should be nationalized, and these people should pay a penalty of some kind, obviously. But they won't, because we're a detached psychopathic society, right? Which is why we're in this fairly major decline. Thing about calling Chinese socialism into question materially, what difference does it make if China is capitalist or socialist in this moment? What does Western capital offer that the East can't? Could you play a song called October Song, please? I don't know the song, Conrad, but I'll add it to the list. How about that? I've been compiling a list of songs that I've been meaning to sit down and actually learn something. Learn. Been getting requests, so October Song. I'll add it to the list, bud. There you go. A German song about October Revolution. We'll see how that goes, but I'll add it to the list. Yeah, don't violence the Nazis, then you're sinking to their level. Yeah, exactly. If you can prove China is not socialist, what precisely does that matter to the economic and lived experiences of Western capital? My favorite thing that happens with the whole conversation about China is like as if Westerners are the experts. That's the best. Segatari, good to see you, man. Workers of the world unite, you bet. Absolutely. That, like, what credibility do Western intellectuals and Western voices have to say about their critiques about the rest of the world? Like, what's for real? Like, for real, what credibility has the West got? Like, who cares what they think about communism? That's my absolute favorite. My absolute favorite is when people walk around being like, oh, well, China's not really communist, and we know, having never done a revolution or having any communist organization whatsoever in our society. We're the ones that judge what is or is not communism. Like, it's so silly. Silly is the word, right? Yeah, their system has material results. Western capitalism is offering next to nothing for their masses. Wow, next to nothing, Cotton. You're really big. You feel nice tonight, Cotton. Wow, something good must be happening in your life for you to say such a nice thing about Western capital. Next to nothing. Oh, geez, that's very kind of you to say to Western capital that you think that they're offering next to nothing. Amazing. I think they're offering nothing at all. Like, nothing whatsoever. Like, unless you sell yourself to it, it'll happily abandon you to the streets and watch you die, and basically just say, like, yeah, here's a MAID program, you can go commit suicide. We'll give you a needle with drugs in it to kill you. Like, that's basically what Western capital is offering, unless you sell yourself to the cult, right? So I would say that's, yeah, I guess next to nothing, right? There is still a vial of poison for you if you want out. Pittsburgh dude, good to see you. Do I have a job, Lukey? Yes, I do. I've got a full-time job. Communism has killed by more on average, blah, blah. I really strongly, what do we got here? Toasted bacon. I'm going to challenge you on that, bud. I think that you're wrong. I think that you have been listening to sources that are lying to you. I'd like to challenge your sources. So please tell me what to look at to show me that communism has killed more people than capitalism has, because to me it's objectively false. So please, if you would like to provide a source, I will happily dunk on it, because it's getting easier and easier. Yeah, please go do your research, Toasted Bacon, because I think you're wrong. And I want to tell you, Toasted Bacon, I think you're wrong for good reason. Right? I think that you're surrounded by CIA propaganda. I think there's a lot of propaganda around, a lot of convincing propaganda. So I don't want to be mean to you. I want to tell you that I just want to tell you, go out there, be more skeptical. Be more skeptical of your sources. Jesse, hey, it's Yo-Yo Gaming. Remember me? I do remember you, Jesse. Good to see you. I have that shirt. Thank you, Lizzie. That's great minds. Drugs provided by the government. Isn't that socialism? So, KY Dog, socialism is the idea that the workers should own the means of production. That's basically what socialism means. So the idea that the government provided, like the government does stuff, isn't what socialism is about. Only capitalism lets you sit on your ass all day. Communism, you'd be in the mines. You bring no value. That's a mean thing to say. I don't know why I should bother listening to what you have to say if that's what you're going to say to people, bud. Communism killed the dinosaurs. Yeah, exactly. Hey, Rusty. How you doing, guys? How you doing? So we've got a little meme in front of us here. The PSAC, the largest federal union here in Canada, is poised to strike at any moment. That what is being offered to them by the government doesn't even cover inflation. It is a joke, if you ask me. And I would love to see this union go on strike. I would absolutely love to see this union go on strike. Not much that I've been seeing in regards to like today's news. So everything is just going to kind of be a hodgepodge today, honestly, guys. And I'll be really honest with you guys. I was out and about a lot today, so I didn't have the opportunity to do a lot of research. So if anybody in the chat thinks that there's something worth talking about, if there's a big piece of news, please tell me. I will search it up and we will talk about it. But I assume it's going to be like, hey, another shooting, hey, another derailment, right? Like, these are happening almost daily now, aren't they? Like, the whole thing's a catastrophe. And now it's getting to the point where we're all just starting to say, oh, thankfully it wasn't me that got caught up in it. They're happening so commonly and they're happening all around us. Yeah, the U.S. would blame communism for the common cold if they could. Yeah, exactly. Oh, goodness. Yeah, I got to reiterate. it's very weird that Westerners think that they have a credible position to take about what is or is not communism. Right? That's the weirdest thing. Oh, China doesn't count because China's not communist, and we say so because we're right about everything. Okay. What the heck do I have this? Oh, this is the, this isn't what I thought it was. Sorry, guys. I thought that this was a poll for... Okay, let's just get rid of this. We don't need to see this. Let's talk about something funny. Peterson tells Alberta to separate rather than forfeit research development. Or resource development, rather. Famed sociologist Dr. Jordan Peterson says Alberta should separate from Canada if the federal government tries to take control over its provincial resources. This is the same guy who, of course, sent out a tweet fairly recently. He retweeted, no word of a lie, guys, this is a real thing that actually happened. Peterson retweeted cock milking porn, thinking it was a Chinese sperm factory. Right? The tweet itself. Such fun in unbelievable techno nightmare CCP hell. What's going on in China? 3 children policy? It's literally like cock milking porn. There's something so like sweetly naive about it. There's something so like sweetly naive about it that he didn't like immediately look at it and realize like this is porn. Like people get off to this stuff. Like I'd say there's a kind of a sweetness to it, right? Yeah, even his Stalinist shagging daughter Michaela called him out on this tweet. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like it's ridiculous, and really like I feel like it does sort of reveal that at least Peterson seems to believe it. You know, like if he's going to embarrass himself so thoroughly, like it tells you that he's not being cynical. That he's just deranged, right? Like it's not that he's sitting there like planning it out and talking to people and being like what's going to have the biggest impact or any of that kind of stuff. That he actually is just deranged and he just is an absurd person. Pittsburgh dude says the U.S. is trying to blame the Chinese Communist Party for COVID, even though the U.S. funded the gain-of-function research in Wuhan. That it might have come out of Fort Derrick. Yeah, Pittsburgh, I gotta tell you, when it comes to this COVID conversation, I don't typically engage in it because of like in your whole thing, you've kind of given all the reasons why. We don't know what happened, and there's shade to be thrown all over, and I don't think we ever will know. Honestly, I think man, straight girl, I'm not gonna ban you because I'm gonna tell you right away. I know who Ronnie McNutt is. I understand what you're doing. I appreciate you took the time to come here. I don't hate one of these, but if that persists, you're gone. Okay. So thanks for coming. I appreciate it. I hope you'll stick around and we'll have a real conversation. Okay? Because I actually respect Ronnie McNutt a great deal. Wherever you are, Ronnie, God bless you. This is a Google review for the Communist Party office on Danforth that says they visited the cafeteria, but there was no food. I chuckled. Sums up the average person's views pretty well. Very nice. Yeah, like they don't know what they're looking at. They don't know what they're looking at. Oh, somebody said something up here. Yeah, Caleb Maupin played a few versions of the German communist song. I don't really pay attention to Caleb Maupin anymore. He went through like a bit of a sex scandal that really turned me off on listening to that guy and taking him seriously. Like it's pretty brutal, frankly, pretty brutal. I mean, I appreciate what he's trying to do in the community and all that, but it's just not something that, you know, it really tainted my view of and tainted my perspective of him quite a great deal, which is unfortunate because before that I always thought that he was fighting the good fight. And I don't know, in many ways he might still be doing that, but I just wish he'd bring it into his personal life. When empires fall, Jade, good to see you. When empires fall, they separate into territories. So Peterson's advice is to purposefully repeat history. And I got to tell you, there's a sub that or rather a Reddit that I am part of called what is it, Canada Sub or something like this. It's extremely far right. It's extremely far right in its leaning, and so you get like a lot of ridiculous bullshit from it. But also a lot of, like, the comments, what's funny about it is that the comment sections are a disaster, but the news is good, right? So they're constantly putting forward, like, really good articles so that they can be like, isn't that terrible? And I'm just like, this is great. Like, this is fantastic. Like, I heard about a movie called How to Blow Up a Pipeline from it, and I posted on it immediately. I was like, fucking what a great, I didn't know that this exists. How to Blow Up a Pipeline. Fantastic. What a great movie. Everybody should watch this. They did not care for that comment very much. But I wouldn't have known about it otherwise. So it's fun. Michael, good to see you here, bud. I don't know if I've ever seen you here before. I can't remember. If not, welcome aboard. If so, good to see you again. I think insurance companies are no longer required to provide preventative care for multiple ailments, if you wanted any news. I mean, they haven't been doing that for years, dude. Like, insurance companies barely exist as insurance companies. They're barely doing the thing that they're supposed to be doing, which is actually provide insurance. Like, they're barely doing that now. Like the whole system has become just a parasitical vulture state. Like, it has no validity or credibility whatsoever. It's a joke. It's a total joke. Subscribe, maybe. Good opportunity to say like, share, subscribe, guys. Hit the bells, hit the whistles, do all the things, do all the stuff. Subscribe, maybe, says on guard for thee. No, not that one. That's liberal. They're very pro-liberal and on guard for thee. No, this one's like small, and it is something like Canada sub or Canadian sub or something like that, and it's like extremely far right. Like literally, like, basically take Nazism and just go like, ever so slightly to the left, and you're basically there. Like, a lot of people say a lot of things that are basically Nazism, but just like ever so slightly removed. Ever so slightly removed. Straight girl, what do you think about the shooting that happened? The trans person, I mean, you should say person when you say that kind of thing, that killed 3 children, and the trans rights or else movement people on TikTok are promoting it. They called it religion destroyer, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I think that the hyper-focusing on the sexuality of the individual that did the shooting is weird. That's what I think. I think it's extremely strange to hyper-focus on the idea that this person was trans, as opposed to focus on shooting in general. That if you took a look at the percentage of people who are doing shootings, straight people are far more, like, by a wide margin, are far more likely to commit a shooting than trans people. And that trans people are just, like, by a percentage of the population, fairly in line with what's going on. So the problem isn't a trans issue. It's creepy and weird to say anything else. And it's creepy and weird to bring up the sexuality of a person who is doing the shooting. Why are you doing that? So it's odd, frankly. It's just strange and odd. And why should it matter? We've got a much larger issue going on, which is the problem of shooting generally. So I don't understand why I'm supposed to avoid or ignore the issue of shooters and shooting and mass shooting on a whole in totality, and instead hyper focus on the idea that one trans person did it once. Like, that's extremely odd to me. Extremely odd. Creepy. Isaac, good to see you, bud. When I was young, they used to tell us in El Salvador that people have to line up for food from the state. My dad used to use, here we have to line up to pay for food. Yeah. Like, it isn't like, I don't, like, oh no, like, a lineup, you know? Like, as if we don't have lineups, you know? Like, it's so fucking weird. We're a weird people, though. We're very weird. Oh, look at you, Anemone, telling the story of you getting engaged, and then you're going for 4 years. You got matching tattoos. You're so cute. You're so cute, Anemone. What'd you get the matching tattoos of? You cutie pie. Yeah, I tend to agree with you on this, Anemone. The trans, as if they're not a person. Like, very weird. Just a very weird position to take, frankly. Is it just me, or when think of America, think of oil, gun, tank, eagle, redneck? Yeah, you got it, dude. Big cap locks, too. Right? America! Oil, gun, tank, eagle, redneck! Yeehaw! America! like riding a tank into a sunset, kind of. Yeah, I've said it before. All anti-LGBTQ bigotry is religiously inspired. I don't know if that is true. I don't actually know if that's true. I think there is something a little bit deeper at play. I think it connects into religious groups fairly easily because religious groups have a kind of idea of purity. There's a sort of purity culture that exists in a lot of religions, and the existence of LGBTQ people sort of confront that. But I do think that the issue that it basically comes down to is projection. I think that people are fearful of asking big questions of themselves and instead project that energy onto other people, that they're fearful of things they don't understand and people they've never met, and instead of taking the energy of what it means for there to be a trans person or a homosexual and put it on themselves and ask themselves those important questions and then acknowledge it and exist in a culture where that's safe. If you live in a culture where it's not safe, it's just easier to project it back out into the world. And I think a lot of people just do that. Somebody kills a bunch of people, right wing's reaction. Quick, look in their pants. Yeah, exactly. Pittsburgh dude, the shooter's manifesto hasn't been released yet, so we don't really know if some sort of trans animosities toward Christians played a role in the shooting. Even if it did. Even if it did, so what? It's one shooting out of 1,000 shootings that have already happened. I don't know why we're supposed to hyper-focus on this. So what? That's my big question. What the far right is doing is they're trying to take this one situation that happened in a much larger picture, and they're trying to blow it up. This is what religious fanatics always do. They always do this. That if you are talking to a religious fundamentalist, you're talking to somebody who's going to take one line out of one section, and they're going to blow it up and pretend like it applies universally. Right? You can see that over and over and over again in all of their rhetoric 100% of the time. That Jesus says something like, no one comes to the Father except through me, and that means Muslims are bad. For real, that's the argument. That Jesus said in the book one time, Paul said that Jesus said in the book one time, that no one comes to the Father except through me, and so that means that a group of religious people who didn't exist at that time are bad. This is their argument, and it's juvenile. It's ridiculous, but that's what they do. Joined your Patreon, brother. These live streams provide me some much needed solidarity. Hope everyone else considers it. Snake, what a beautiful thing you just said there, dude. I'll make sure to send you the Discord link. I appreciate that, bud. That's a wonderful thing that you just said there, bud. Yeah, please join the Patreon, guys. It's in the description, right? It's just $1. More if you'd like. Believe me, more if you'd like. If I can get 400 people to donate $5 a piece, I can become politically active. I can literally stop doing the other job that I'm doing, and I can start becoming politically active. That right now, what I'm doing on this live stream is as much as I can essentially do, with a little bit of things here and there. But I'd like to do more. I'd like to be more involved, and I'd like to cause more problems for these psychos. Right? But I can't do that if I'm wasting my time in a job that's essentially pointless. So consider donating, guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And big thanks to you, Snake. And big thanks to my to the people who are already supporting me. Big thanks to my Patreons out there. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. Anemone says, I have a skateboard gun on my finger and my partner has a book on theirs. Look at you, you little sweetheart. You little sweetheart. I'm thinking of getting a trident because they're from Barbados, and a fish because you're Bengali. You're getting cuter and cuter by the sentence. Unbelievable, Anemone. Ridiculous. And of course, everybody who ever has any tattoo also has to say at any point, I have some shitty tattoos I want to cover. Of course, Anemone. Yeah, Ronnie, congratulations. I don't think the going far left is the answer. I think you're wrong. And I'd like to challenge you on that, Toasted Bacon. What is the plan to transition Canada to communism? I think that Canada and the United States are going to go through a period of balkanization first. That the plan is to organize locally, to get as many people locally as you possibly can, to support leftist ideas and to support a leftist kind of concept, but we are not going to be able to overwhelm the trajectory of a collapse of empire. 7 million died from Stalin's famine. No, toasted bacon, I'm going to challenge you on that. We've opened the... take a look at Grover Fur. Do a Google search right now of Grover Fur, the Ukraine famine. We have opened the Soviet archives, and it's not a genocide. I mean, certainly there was a famine, right? But the Soviets actually solved the famine problem. That what you're espousing is essentially Nazi propaganda. So I'm going to challenge you on that. I gave you a source, dude. Grover Fur, the Ukrainian famine. You can type it in right now. It would take you 2 seconds, right? Why don't you challenge me? Because you don't have any sources. You're just espousing CIA propaganda. What if my source is wrong? It's not. So, yeah, trans people murdered on the daily. If a Christian ideology played a role in a shooting, what would that matter? Versus some sort of trans ideology. I know, right? Oh, sorry, straight girl. The straight are not promoting it, though. Then these trans people want to make more shooters. Oh my dear goodness, straight girl. Okay, we're going to read this out loud for everyone to hear it. And straight girl, you should listen and hear what this sounds like out loud for someone to actually say. Okay? The straight are not promoting it, though. So, first of all, like, yikes. Very wrong. Like, a lot of these people write manifestos. Then these trans people want to make more shooters. Big yikes. Then they literally have the transgender flag with text that says, take revenge right after the shooting happened. I mean, I'm sure that there is a vanishingly small group of people who may have done that. I'm sure that you'll find like a tiny little fringe element that you're blowing up to be the culture, which is weird, right? That's the point. Is that, like, yes, I'm sure that you'll find 4 people who have done the thing that you say that exists. And you're pretending as though that's the entire culture of the trans community. You're pretending like this is something worth focusing on, which is weird and creepy, frankly. Anyway, there's an elite agenda to divide Americans on cultural lines, getting the pro-LGBT people to hate traditional people and vice versa. Yeah, there's definitely divide and conquer, right? Divide and conquer. And people like Straight Girl are pretty much illustrating how that looks, right? Pretty much illustrating how that looks. That we should be focusing on trans people instead of focusing on the fact that the society is being pilfered by psychopathic corporate power. Right? Like, why should I give a shit at all about trans people more than I care about BlackRock or Vanguard? Like, outside of the fact that we should be leaving these people alone. Like, we should be leaving these people alone. And yet Cotton's nailing it, as always. The straights are actively doing a pogrom against LGBT. And they want to act surprised that now some of them are fighting back. Yeah, exactly. Like, literally states are passing legislation to ban being trans. And then one trans person picks up a gun and everybody goes, dearie me! Like, how dumb can you be? Like, how dumb can you be? Like, it's weird. Like, it's weird what we're doing. It's weird what we're doing. You love the video game Hades. The wine cup of Dionysus. Dude, that's true love. Getting a tattoo from a video game, and Hades is a good one. Hades is a good one to get a tattoo from. Well done, well done. But that's true love. Like, you don't just like that video. Oh, you said love, so good. It's true love. Well done. Oh yeah, the sun. It was a good day for the sun. Recently told gamers are the least racist people. Yeah, it's the opposite every day now. Yeah, right. Yeah, gamers being the least racist. Have you ever played a video game? Like, have you ever played a video game? Jade says, as a teen, I used to hide under the covers to read into the night without the rents. Well, aren't you a cutie pie? Today's stream is super cute. Look how cute everybody's being in the stream today. People attracted me and fellow Orthodox Christians in our church. They threw Molotovs at the church. No one was hurt. Goodness. Cook says, abortion is the lit fuse that will lead to American balkanization. Nah, I don't think it'll be abortion, dude. I think it'll be the devaluation of the dollar. That'll be the big, like, that when the dollar devalues internationally and when we can no longer get cheap goods from places like China and Vietnam and India, like once those cheap goods stop flowing in, because they're no longer going to exchange real things for fake dollars that buy nothing. That's going to be a big fuse. That, like, these issues, like the LGBT issues and abortion and all of these are big distractionary issues. These are big issues that gets people riled up, right? Gets people riled up and hyper focused and all this. But, like, people are going to experience material disruption. They're going to turn to their government to be like, hey, why can I no longer get basic goods that I've been getting for decades? And the government's basically going to say, fuck you, work harder. And people are going to genuinely start asking, why should I bother being a part of this? Right? Why should I bother being a part of it? That guy, no, it's a keychain. I'm a coward. That's okay, that guy. I don't have any tattoos. I know for a fact that if I got one tattoo, I would get 1,000 tattoos. So I just am like, no tattoo. No tattoo for me. I see the rabbit hole. It's right there. Anytime I'm like, ooh, a tattoo, I just am like... 2,000 hours in Hades, dude. That's a lot of hours in Hades. I played a lot of Hades, though, too. I got hooked on Hades over COVID, and I like basically finished it before the game was finished. I was like in the early release of it, and so I like basically finished it before they put in the ending, even. So by the time they released the full game, I just like finished it, like just like boom boom. I like unlocked everything that's possible to unlock in Hades. Oh, I just got banned. I just got banned on TikTok. Oh, misinformation. Oh, okay. TikTok's embarrassing, dude. TikTok's embarrassing, man. Wow. Misinformation for providing a source. TikTok's embarrassing, man. Like, for real. It's really obvious what's happening. Like, it's, you guys are watching it happening in real time. I just appealed a ban that I just got. I had been banned last week, right? But now I'm getting banned for misinformation for providing a source, right? You guys are gonna steadily witness this kind of stuff happening, right? Like you're gonna steadily witness this kind of stuff happening. Eventually, I'll be banned on YouTube, right? Which is why it's important to get involved in the Discord so that you can find where I'm gonna go next and where I'm gonna build next, because like this is going to start happening, and it's going to start being more serious, right? That I provided a source, and instead of having the capability or the interest to actually discuss it and push back or acknowledge the validity of the source, no, it's misinformation. It's misinformation, right? So we're a psychopath nation. It's pretty straightforward. Like pretty straightforward. We're a nation of psychopaths. And this kind of thing just sort of proves it. Like, literally in real time, they're straight up just saying, like, oh, you provided a source that counters the CIA narrative. Well, you're banned. Like, okay, these people are psychos. Pretty straightforwardly. Pretty straightforwardly. Californians are finally openly question why they keep propping up the red states. Yep. And it's going to get faster. Like, this is the thing, guys. Like, I bring this up kind of as a joke, but it's not a joke. Like, it's not. Like, it's going to happen, and it's going to happen really fast. And as it happens, it's going to happen like it's going to be like like rocket fuel. And lots of people are going to be around you, being like, "Why is this happening so quickly?" And it actually isn't happening quickly. It's happening all along the way. Adam says, just saw you say we should ask fossil fuel folk when they knew. Did you see the news that Shell knew before Exxon? Probably, at some point. Like, they're all complicit, Adam. Like, they're all complicit. Good to see you, by the way, bud. Like, all of them. Across the board. Shell, Exxon, Mobil, all of them. Like, there isn't one of them that isn't complicit. Yeah, tattoos are addicting for sure. More gerbs! More gerbs is the answer to what ails you. More gerbs. What we need to do is we need to get more people making bombs. Then unemployment is at zero. Everybody's making weapons. Yeah, I fell for Hades pretty fast, dude. Yeah, if you have an addictive personality, don't do it. I think that the one thing that keeps me away... There are two reasons I stay away from tattoos. There's only actually two reasons I stay away from tattoos. Reason number one is money. Like, it's a huge money sink. Anytime I talk to anybody, they're literally like, yeah, I'm spending hundreds of dollars on this. And it's like, okay. Like, I don't have hundreds of dollars to spend on tattoos, honestly. But then the other side of it is that tattoos are permanent, but I am not. Like, that's kind of the ethos that I have taken. That I think about the type of tattoos I would have gotten when I was like 20. And I'm like, yeah, I am a different person, and I super don't want to spend my whole life explaining to people, why do I have a Jesus tattoo? Like, why do I have this stuff? Like, I don't care to, like, have that conversation all the time. And so I'm not that confident that I would be pleased with having done it. Tinker, California can be an entire independent country. Lithium deposits alone are huge. Not to mention Silicon Valley, fruits and veg foods. Yeah, exactly. Like, exactly. There's just no reason not for California to stay with the Union, right? And as California continues to attempt to develop itself, it's going to get really, really clear that the federal government is holding it back. And the federal government is holding California back in major, major ways. Like, not small little things. Like, straight up, like, the tariffs that Donald Trump put on China essentially amounted to like a 30% tax on any goods that California buys from China, including solar panels. Like, it really doesn't take a genius to figure out that eventually the people of California are going to be like, why are we bothering with this? And the whole, like, it's only going to take one country, or it's only going to take one state, right? It's only going to take one. Chris Hedges, this is from Isaac, reported the death squad created by Elliot Abrams and John Bolton in the 1980s in El Salvador. We still have mass graves with children that's never been investigated. Of course. That's how we are. Jessica Marie, good to see you. This is your first comment. Hope it's a beautiful one. In communism, you line up for bread. In capitalism, bread lines up for you. No, dude, you still line up for bread in capitalism. You just pay for it at the end with your labor, right? That's how it works. Like, this whole, like, communism breadline narrative is so weird. As if we don't line up for bread. What a weird thing to say. Like, we line up for bread. The next time you're in a grocery line, right? Imagine somebody walking up to you and being like, "Oh, you're lining up for bread, eh?" Like, but just there's this, like, money transaction that's happening, and so you're like, "Oh, this makes sense." No, it's not well, I don't know if it's a permanent ban or not, but I'm not taking a look at it until after. Like, the last one was 3 days, so it's just pretty obvious that the NATO operatives that own and operate TikTok are doing everything they can to make sure nobody can actually disseminate the truth. And given how scared the powerful are of TikTok, and they are obviously scared of TikTok, they're making sure that the algorithm is just shutting everybody down. Right? So this idea that there's freedom of speech and that people can say what they like it's so embarrassing. It's just an embarrassing thing that Americans say of themselves because they're so propagandized and detached. They don't actually know what's going on. Save the bee. I won't lie, Jessica, that's a funny line. Straight up. It's a funny line. Tinker, they found the Intel leaker. He's a 21-year-old from the National Guard, avid gamer. Yes, I heard this. That he was trying to prove a conversation and provided the documents in a gaming forum. It's so funny. Wow, we didn't know we were living under communism in Toronto. Epic gamer move. Good to see you, Ben. Do you think, this is from Cook, do you think the balkanization will include Canadian provinces? Many of us in the Pacific Northwest would be amenable to joining up with BC, but less enthusiastic about Alberta. Yeah, I mean, I do think that Canada's not off limits in this conversation. Like, it pays to remember that there was like a fairly credible and fairly significant there is a fairly credible and fairly significant separation movement that happened in Quebec, right, in the 90s, that really only didn't make it through referendum by like very, 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 very thin margins, right? So like, if you think like if the referendum had have gone the other way by like 2 percentage points, then Quebec could have begun a process of separation. Not that the imperialists in Canada would have actually allowed it to happen, but like, and of course there is a narrative. I don't know about credible narrative, but a narrative that exists in Quebec that election was cooked from the outset. So there was a very significant separatist movement in Quebec and in Canada already, and those sentiments aren't gone, you know. And so these separation sentiments exist and can be exploited, right? And I actually think that they will be exploited primarily by the billionaire class, because when the dollar devalues, the federal government's not going to have anybody else to turn to. They're going to try to tax the billionaires something. The Biden administration is already trying to do this to a certain degree. And the billionaires are probably going to be the ones who actually attempt to foment separation movements. Because you think like Elon Musk. If Elon Musk separates and becomes part of and becomes like the leader of Texas, basically, he just gets to keep all his wealth, right? That's all. He just gets to keep all his money, which is all they care about, right? Adam says, catastrophe in regards to climate change. Florida, 22 inches rain in 7 hours. Previous record, 18 inches over 3 days from 1924. Yeah, the ocean water is 4 to 6 degrees above Celsius, above average. Yep. Eric, good to see you, bud. John, did you see the dangerous precedent that Texas set up recently, and what was the source that caused you to be banned? I talked about Grover Fur, Grover Fur's work. Grover Fur, the Ukraine famine. And, you know, so you provide a solid source like that that's actually doing a solid argument, and, you know, NATO is going to get on you. And so the lesson there is that you can't say Grover Fur's name on TikTok, apparently. So you can't like provide evidence is basically what it comes down to. Like, we really are in like a weird kind of Kafka-esque sort of space where like evidence doesn't matter, the rules don't matter, there is no laws. Like there is no laws. Even the people who are supposed to be the holders of the laws don't follow the laws. Like it's just and everything is faceless. There is no there is nobody to talk to. You can't actually talk to anybody, right? And yet I literally went to like a Canadian bureaucrat place. I updated my passport today, and it was lovely. It was perfectly fine, right? I got to talk to somebody. And so for all the demonization of like these bureaucrats in government, like, yeah, fucking go on TikTok for a day. Like, see what happens to you. Like, there's nothing worse than corporate bureaucracy. Corporate bureaucracy is essentially a demon. Like, it's crazy. Yeah, it's not only in Alberta, but Quebec still has separation in the back of their minds. Yeah, rest of the prairies. 1,000%. What would Canada look like now without Quebec? It definitely didn't serve well since it aged for the rest of us. Well, I don't understand the rest of that comment, but like, I don't know, like Quebec would probably operate as an independent country and then vassalize itself to the United States, just like the rest of Canada has. Like, the overwhelming power of the federal United States, like especially through the 90s, Like Quebec wouldn't be able to escape that influence, and but like the federal government's going to decline in power very quickly. Like I don't think you can understate the speed by which it's going to happen. It's going to happen very, 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 very fast. Like we're literally going to go from like we're the greatest superpower in the world to like fifth. Like we're going to drop fast, and nobody's going to want our dollar. No, and we are not going to be prepared to actually build our own productive capacity, because that's not what capitalism does, right? Like it took capitalists like hundreds of years to industrialize. Took them 20 years to deindustrialize. They're not going to suddenly just reindustrialize. Like it's just not how it's ever gone under capitalist systems. And meanwhile, the communist countries and the people who are focusing on socialism and communism and Marxism as economic ideas are going to industrialize and advance their productive capacity extremely fast, right? Like the Soviet Union industrialized in 20 years. The Cultural Revolution and Mao's Great Leap Forward happened over a period of 20 years. Like these countries are going to industrialize themselves, and they're going to increase their productive capacity extremely fast, while the United States basically wallows, because we are essentially fanatics. Like we are essentially religious fundamentalists. We don't care about economics. We don't understand economics. The people who we consider to be the most educated in the subject of economics are actually illiterate religious fundamentalists. And we are going to experience a major collapse on economic principles, because the very people whose job it is to understand economics don't. On religious principle alone. Like, that's all of it. That's all of it. Yeah, it's going to get hotter, you guys. What am I saying? Like, it's going to get hotter. Yeah, Grover Fur is dangerous. You bet. Like, the system can't handle the truth. It literally can't. It's got to just, like, this is basically what it is. La, 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 la. It's got to shut its ears. It literally cannot handle the truth. I thought I might have to take out my earrings and pull my hair back into a bun? What? Yeah. We should be being up. Yeah, we should be bringing up the sexuality of mass shooters. This is by far and away white, cis, far-right, white Christian men. Yeah. It's only going to get hotter, guys. Yep, day by day. Like, year by year. It's only going to get hotter. Like, I don't know why people seem to think, like, it's not going to get hotter. Like, it's global warming. Like, the temperature goes up. Like, it's going to get hotter. Grover Fur is blacklisted by many countries, including Ukraine. And what about the precedent? I don't understand the question. Oh no, the Nazis blacklisted fur, yeah. Everyone listen to Health or ISTG. I will overthrow an old folks' home. Ah, goodness. I can tell that the chat's in a fairly good mood, though. I can tell. Not trying to talk down about people being incarcerated, but when I heard face tattoos, it reminds me of them. Like, this is what China's up to. This is what China's up to, guys. China aims to use moon soil to build lunar bases as soon as this decade. More than 100 Chinese scientists, researchers, and space contractors recently met at a conference in the central Chinese city of Wuhan to discuss ways to build infrastructure on the moon, local media reported. Ding Leiyun, an expert from the Chinese Academy of Engineering, said a team is designing a robot named Chinese Supermasons to make bricks out of lunar soil, according to Xinjiang Daily. Building a habitat on the moon is needed for long-term lunar explorations and will certainly be realized in the future. Ding said, while acknowledging the difficulty of achieving it in the short term, according to the report. What's this? What's even happening here? There's like something coming out here. All right. No face tattoos until I get my PhD. The robot tasked with making the lunar solar brick will be launched during China's Chang'e 8 mission around 2028, Ding said, adding that the country is aiming to retrieve the world's first soil sample. What is this? What is happening? I don't know what this is. There's like little emotes coming out from the bottom here. I've never seen this before. Does anybody know what the hell that is? I'm not complaining. I just don't know what the hell it is. China previously retrieved soil samples from the near side of the moon with its Chang'e 5 mission in 2020, state media reported. The country has stated that it wants its astronauts to stay on the moon for long periods once it establishes a lunar research station. Ding and dozens of experts were attending the extraterrestrial construction conference held at Hangzhou University of Science and Technology in Wuhan this past weekend. Like, this is what China is doing. We are going to fall behind. We're going to fall behind in very, 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 very significant ways. That while we are wallowing in this idea of like basically make America the 1950s again, right? While we're wallowing in this ridiculous idea that we are gonna make America great again, or we're gonna, like, why not build a lunar base, right? Like, China is gonna do this, right? And we're gonna do something. We're gonna do some like tokenism shit, like we always do, right? Thanks, Cotton. Why not build these nuts, right? Good question, Cotton. Why not build these nuts? And we're just gonna completely fall into just this ridiculous period. We're just gonna fall into a dark age. Like, we're not gonna produce anything. We're not gonna make any research. Does nobody else have the emote button? Just me? Is that you? Kaya? Is that you? Are you doing that? Canada's GDP is destroyed. Yeah, everything's tied into housing. Everything else is just a grift to steal money from each other. Right? Well, that's great, Kaya. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Adds a little bit of color into the whole thing. Like, why is everyone being so cute today? What is going on in the chat where everybody is so cute? Cotton, can it be both? Can't it be both? Can't we agree that we should be building moon bases and building nuts? Right? Shouldn't we agree that that's the case? U.S. military intelligence has long anticipated civil war, and this economic collapse is making that war more likely. Here's this one from Rainer Shea. While I'm literally saying you guys are all being adorable. Civil war. How's the GDP doing? Haven't heard much about it. Bad, James. Or sorry, Ben. Bad. The OECD. Oh, the economic. Hold on. Did I do that? The OCED? Anyway, the international community essentially is looking at Canada saying we're going to be the worst. The IMF recently released a report saying that China's growth over this next period is going to be at about 6%, and America's growth is going to be at about 1%. So we're falling behind, and we're going to fall behind pretty fast. Like, literally, we are looking at China having 6 times our growth, or triple our growth, even. It's going to be very quick, and we are not keeping up. And I think that the worst thing that we're doing, and you guys saw it today with the TikTok ban, right? You saw it today with the TikTok ban. The worst thing that we're doing is we are not openly talking about it and being honest. Like, we are actually shutting conversation down. We are actually shutting down communication about these things. We are making it more difficult to actually have conversations about what's happening. Like it, and that is going to make it far, 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 far worse. I haven't seen what the IMF had to say about Canada's growth, Ben, but I mean, all signs point to bad. All signs point to bad. Especially as we have people in power who are actively working to destroy economic growth. Like the Ford administration here in the province of Ontario has essentially destroyed the economy. That the previous government, that's the Wynne government, the McGuinty government, were actually putting in something like 700 different policies and different plans in order to actually create an economy moving into this next phase. And the Ford administration came in and the first thing it did was destroy it. So we not only do we not have any growth in the first place, all plans designed to create growth are actively being destroyed. Like actively being destroyed. And so we are falling behind, and we're going to fall behind fast. And on purpose, by design, that's what our owners want. Very, very clearly, it's what the ownership class wants. There's no other way to discuss it. Like, they're clearly making decisions to consolidate power for themselves and destroy the nations that they live in. Obviously. And you can debate why they might be doing that, but you certainly can't debate that they're doing that. Yeah, GDP went up 5%, but prices are up 8%. Yep. Someone needs to be DJ Empire State Building. I don't know what you're talking about, Cotton. John, did you look at the... Which one are you talking about here, dude? I got a lot of stuff going on in here. I should pull this stuff up. While the FBI has not named a suspect, a trail of online evidence compiled by the Times leads to Airman Jack Teixeira, who oversaw a private online group called the Thug Shaker Central, where members confirmed the trove of classified documents first appeared. That's hilarious. Literally like a gaming... That's so stupid. Millennials didn't kill the economy killed the millennials. Absolutely. What article are we looking at here, man? What article are we looking at? I don't know what article we're looking at here, Anemone. Sorry. Resources. You got it. Is it the global trends? Is that what we're talking about? You guys are probably right. I'm in a silly mood. It's fine. I can be silly. Global Trends 2040. A more contested world. Yeah, this is, what organization is this from? This is the publication of the National Intelligence Council. So, can we be honest? If there was a civil war, it would literally be the laziest struggle ever. Basically frumpy boomers sitting on their porch in the suburbs while cities ignore them. I don't know, dude. Like, there are, like, weird little militia groups that exist, right? They're like, the Patriot Front. Anytime I see a video of the Patriot Front, I'm like, these guys are goofy losers that are going to do a lot of damage. Like, there's a lot of, like, goofy loser groups out there that, like, run drills and have costumes and look like idiot goobers, but they're going to do a ton of damage, right? Like, here. Yeah, they are like LARPers for sure, but like this is real. This is a real thing that's really happening, right? Like, these people are real. They exist. They're goofy losers who are just like weirdos, basically. But it's difficult to say that, like, this would be effective if it came to street combat, right? Like, these people would be effective, right? And it looks like they run drills to be effective. It looks like they do things to be effective. Like they're active. They're not doing nothing. They have weird little camps that they do, right? And you've also got like the Nazi groups that are showing up with by being like boxing and MMA people, right? You got a real like kind of Fight Club vibe going on with these guys, and like they're sort of goofy weirdos who come together to like be goofy weirdos. They got their asses bodied by the people of Philadelphia 2 years ago. Sure. Yeah. Let's do a China walk. You're right. Let's go. China walk around. Where are we going to walk around? Let's walk around. Let's walk around Wuzhen. Let's walk around Wuzhen. You guys are right. Reminds me of Nazi Azov camps in Ukraine. Yeah. Like the Nazis were active like this in Germany, right? Like they had like a weird little group where they were weird little weirdos, right? Like they're not yeah, I would love to go to China, man. I'd love to go to China. Absolutely, I would love to go to China. It looks like a beautiful place. It looks like the cities are like glittering. Like everything looks absolutely beautiful. Any thoughts on the Bud Light controversy? Who gives a shit? It's like it's the Eminem thing all over again, right? Like it shows you how unserious the right is. It shows you how unserious the conversation actually is, right? It shows you how unserious we are as a people. That's what it does. That's the only thing worth saying about it. Like I don't even know the full like details of the controversy, and I can tell you that it's completely unserious. It's corporations stirring up conversation about nonsense. It's ridiculous. Jade says, so are they really forcing us to Mordor them? Tech could provide a way to own the means of production as citizens. We don't need to hurt each other necessarily, but if they really want, yeah, they don't want peace, only problems. Like we are dealing with people who openly say that there is such a thing as a subclass of humans, right? That's what we really are talking about here. Like, I don't know why we're not supposed to address that and be open and honest about it. Is that like people on the far right genuinely believe openly and discuss openly with one another openly that how there is a subclass of citizens that should be dominated, controlled, and destroyed. Like this is the open conversation that we are actually having with these people. And like, why can't we have nice things? That's why we can't have nice things. Very straightforward, very obvious. It's why we can't have nice things. Ugh. And do you know what China does? If groups like that start to show up, ask Falun Gong. Ask Falun Gong what China does to people, to groups that show up and start operating this way. Right? They throw them out of the country. They literally take them and throw them out of the country. Like we should do. But my free speech! I should have the free speech to walk around and say I should own slaves and that black people are inferior. Right? Like it's who we are, it's how we are. It's weird. We had a lot of good opportunity to say like, share, subscribe, guys. Hit the bells, hit the whistles, hit the stuff. Getting banned on TikTok really sucked, man. That really sucked. Because yesterday was actually such a beautiful day. I feel like there were some good people who came in, and we were able to have some like good conversations with some new people who I think were amenable, who were actually interested in having their minds changed and experiencing that kind of thing. So to get banned on TikTok again for nothing, basically, is annoying. Like, and that's essentially where we're at now. It's just these people are annoying. Like and no one is more annoying than liberals in this conversation. That, like, obviously the system is collapsing. Obviously things are being taken over by these far right forces. Like, obviously this is happening. And liberals are basically just wimps, just losers. Kaya says, we openly call other countries with billions of people our enemies, and we wonder why we can't have peace within our borders. Yeah, never mind outside. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Lawnmower Man, you're so patient with them. I mean, I haven't been in the past. For sure I haven't been. I'm glad that I am starting to be, though. I'm glad, because it makes me feel better. I feel like when I take this, and maybe this is a lesson for all of us. Maybe this is something I can hopefully share for all of us. Is that when you take the more compassionate position, and I'm speaking from my own experience recently, when you take the more compassionate position, and when you don't let the anger reach your voice, when you let the anger get tempered by your heart. Here, let's talk about it from let's talk about it from the chakra position, right? That it's the energy starts with safety, right? And if you don't let that get tempered through pleasure, and then your own sense of self-confidence, and your own kind of righteous fury, and then your heart, and if it reaches your mouth without being tempered, then everything you say is going to come from a place of fear, and it goes all the way up. And if you're speaking from a place of anger without letting it get tempered from your heart, then you're just going to be raging against people who are going to bounce off of you fairly easily. And it's going to make you feel worse. I know that I compare the two, like when I was biting against people, I would end my stream and I would feel bad. I would feel worse. You know? I would feel more angry. I would feel more frustrated. But recently, as I've been taking this more compassionate position, I feel better. I end the stream and I feel like I've helped myself, even. You know, I feel like I feel better. And I think about that kind of work, and I think about coming from that position. I actually think it's more dangerous. I think it's more dangerous to be operating that way. That operating from a place of anger and operating from that place of is manageable, right? Your enemies can always point at you and say, "Oh, look at this kooky, bitter, angry, frustrated, etc., etc., etc." But if you're coming with just the evidence and the facts, and from a place of compassion, and saying things like, "Yeah, I used to think like you. Like I used to have that kind of mindset," and rooting myself back in my own history, and realizing that there was a period of my life, like I genuinely believe that Jesus Christ was coming back at any moment. You know? That's a truism. That's a truth that exists in my life and in my life's journey. And accepting that if that's true of me, if I have that truth inside of myself, that at some point in my journey I genuinely believe something so absurd, then there's no limit to what people can believe. Right? There's no limit to what people can believe. If you can believe a wizard is coming back at any moment, then you can believe anything. And that if you encounter people who believe these sorts of things, and if I encounter them, then I don't really have any position to judge them, because I myself also believed that. Or something even worse. So take the Holodomor conversation that just got me banned on TikTok, right? That I can't really condemn people for believing in the myth of the Holodomor, because there's so much propaganda that says that it happened. Like, there's so much propaganda surrounding it. There's so many lies, right? There's so many lies surrounding it. And so if you provide, and so all you can do is just provide evidence and provide sources, even though it gets you banned, even though the system is obviously working against evidence and facts and reason. Right? But it's all you can do, because people are walking around believing angels are real, People are walking around believing the Holodomor happened. People are believing that Mao's famine was real. People are believing in the Uyghur genocide. People are believing in all of these lies, and it's easy for us because we're already inundated with a type of compliance in the system that starts when we're very, very young. And that's the school system, right? That from essentially the word go, we are told to accept what we're told is true by people who are experts, by people who who are your authority figures. And if you do well, i.e. do what you're told, right, espouse the doctrine that you are given as if it is fact, then you're given an A and you get to move up the chain, right? That when Peterson talks about ascending the hierarchy through competence, what he's actually saying is you have to be very competent at being obedient, right? That the more obedient you are, the better you'll do in the society, right? Forget the fact that the society has structured itself to destroy itself. Like, forget that, which even Peterson seems to be fighting for. The entire thing is just, yeah, they can't accept that their global violence is overwhelmingly one-sided. Yeah, like it is overwhelmingly one-sided, and they'll literally create narratives that say, oh well, if we don't do this violence, then they'll do this violence to us. The idea that we are going to do violence is just so embedded and ingrained. Tinker says those emojis are weird. Is it your birthday? No, I think somebody's just found a new toy and is playing with it, Tinker. I think it's as simple as that. I'm not naming names. I'm not calling anybody out, and I don't mind it at all. I'm not complaining for a moment. It's a new YouTube feature. Here we go, and people are playing with a new toy. That's all, Tinker. And maybe it'll take over the whole thing. Who knows? I gotta tell you, I rather like it. I'm gonna be honest with you. Anytime those little hearts pop up, I'm like, yeah. Doesn't bother me for a minute. I feel like we're all in kind of a cute, adorable mood. We're all talking about video games and tattoos and all kinds of stuff. I think the nice weather, like, even though there is this looming, oh, that's kind of you to say, Anemone, I appreciate that. Even though there is this looming kind of climate change issue, the nicer weather is still nicer weather, and I think we're all here for it. John, make sure you do 2FV. Lots of Nazis around trying to hack accounts. I don't know what 2FV means, dude. Is that like a security feature? Because I am doing that. If it is what I think you're talking about, I am doing that. Yeah, two-factor verification. Yeah, I've got that, bud. Yeah, I'm doing two-factor. And it's... What a weird time, man. Like, what a weird and strange time to be alive. We're all, like, caught up. We're all caught up in this, like, illusionary world. We've, like, manufactured a world. We've manufactured an existence. We've manufactured this fake reality that doesn't really even matter. That we have this sort of vision of what we want the world to be, but it's all based on nothing. It's all based on this, like, false currency that we're creating, and it's all gonna fall apart. It's just wild what we're up to. I think there's also just a lot of bots, you know? Like, forget about Nazis. Like, it's just I think that there's just, like, a lot of bots, and that there are bots that are just constantly trying and probing, right? Like, they're constantly in this state of probing and trying to figure it out. And like, it's one of the reasons this is a kind of a controversial one that I bring up all the time, but Compton says, you know what's really crazy? Imagine being a Nazi. Imagine going there knowing full well the whole narrative is a lie. But that's just it. They don't think it's a lie. Like, that's just it. Like, that's what makes it even crazier. Like, if you actually go and you actually talk to Nazis, like, the concept of might makes right, that if you just kill me first, is a real Nazi kind of ethos. Like these people are like rabid dogs, right? Like they actually genuinely believe that, like, oh, I'll just shoot you and take what I want, and as long as I can get away with it, that's what matters. Right? The only reason I don't just shoot you and take your stuff is because there's consequences. But if we were in a situation where there were no consequences, then I would just shoot you and take your stuff. And if you don't want me to do that, then you better do that first. Right? Like, that's the ethos of it. And they view a big reason why they justify going after small minority groups and small peoples, because they're weak. Like, oh, they're weak, and if we can just go after them and nobody's going to say anything or do anything, and we can just get them and get their stuff, and no one's going to care. Like, it's on. I do think that it is like leftists. I say this all the time, where I think leftists are the ones that are creating a narrative that says, oh, they're using this as a distraction to like, here's a large issue, but they're distracting us and getting us to hyper focus. I think that that's like a centrist leftist narrative, whereas I think the actual narrative is that they're doing it because those people are weak and they want to. Like, I really do think that it's I think it really is like that. That if we were to be really honest about why Nazis exist and why people are the way that, like, why does Matt Walsh exist and what is Matt Walsh actually motivated by? Matt Walsh isn't sitting there going, this will make sure that people focus on this issue instead of, like, I think that he's just getting off on torturing people. And I really think it's that simple. I don't think there is a grander narrative. I think that it just gets him off. And that being able to do it in public, being able to gather people around and have followers, being able to go on Joe Rogan, right? Being able to create a movement that essentially is based around let's torture people who can't fight back. I think it just gets him off, right? I think it gives him an erection. I think he jerks off to it, and I really think it's that simple. Like, I don't think that there's a big narrative to it. And then it's us that create the larger narrative, because these guys don't actually have a larger narrative, right? Like, that's the other part of it to understand, is that people on the right don't really have an understanding and don't care to have an understanding. Like, they think Jordan Peterson is smart, right? Like, they're not choosing Peterson out of an array of narratives, right? They're choosing Peterson in a vacuum of narratives. And so if you have no narratives and you've got no story, and hurting people who are weaker than you gives you a boner, then you're just going to constantly dedicate your life to doing that. You're just constantly going to be like, and if it's not trans people, it'll be Jews. And if it's not Jews, it'll be Muslims. And if it's not Muslims, it'll be black people, right? It's any group that is inferior to you and can't defend themselves. And it's creating suffering for the sake of creating suffering, because the suffering gives you a boner. Like, I know it sounds very reductive and juvenile, but I genuinely believe that's what's going on. Like, I don't think these people are operating from a place of political anything. I don't think they have a political agenda. I don't think that they are operating from an agenda of creating any kind of larger ethos or idea. I think that they want to hurt people because it gets them off. and that's actually what's going on. And so what we are actually fighting against when we are attempting to negotiate with these far right elements and these far right people is we are trying to negotiate with their own kind of dark desires. That in many ways you're trying to convince a pedophile not to have sex with children. Like it really is how it operates. That you are really trying to get them to a place where they understand that abusing children and having sexual relations with children is wrong. And even though, and this is where it gets really difficult, right? When it comes to Nazis and when it comes to these kinds of people like Matt Walsh, that even if you get them to admit that dominating inferior groups and dominating groups that can't defend themselves is wrong, even if you get them to admit that, then you are still dealing with a person who has these dark desires and has this dark desire to enslave other people, right? Like Matt Walsh obviously wants to have sex slaves. Like it's pretty obvious that if he was given the option, if the society around him allowed him to dominate people and have sex slaves, that he would, right? Like he and even if he admitted that it was wrong to do, even if he was sitting there going, oh, that's incorrect. It's incorrect for us to do that. Well, he would still be fighting against his darker desire to do so, right? And probably wouldn't win, right? Probably wouldn't win, especially if he was living in a society that made it permissible, right? Which is why I think why these guys fight for a society that does make it permissible, because they don't want to admit to themselves that the dark impulses that they have inside of themselves are wrong, right? Yeah, Matt Walsh is a complete psychopath. Like, absolutely. He's, I imagine he is a practicing Catholic. He's probably dedicated, right? And when he found out that priests were having sex with little kids, he thought to himself, good, right? Like, it's that we on the left usually discuss these people in political terms, but I don't think that they are operating politically. They're only operating politically out of convenience or out of a way to sort of fuel what's actually going on, which is that they are essentially rabid dogs. Like they have these dark impulses that they operate from almost exclusively, and they operate in the world in order to fuel those dark desires. And Matt Walsh is essentially the perfect example because he's completely committed to it. Like, he's completely committed to it. But you could see it in other figures. Like, if I didn't want to use Matt Walsh, I could use somebody a bit less controversial, like Andrew Tate, right? Like, obviously Andrew Tate is operating from a place of deep dark desire to own women, right? Like, Andrew Tate obviously is like a sex offender and obviously wants to dominate women. He's pretty open about it, honestly. And you can't get these guys to admit that it's wrong in the first place, right? Like, they'll defend themselves and they'll defend this stuff. So it's not coming from a political position. It's coming from a deep, dark position. Andrew Tate I got FAFO'd tattooed on his face now. Sure, dude. Sure. Like, anybody who's still paying attention to Andrew Tate, like, I don't feel bad about what happens to you in the world. Like, I really don't. Like, if you're still listening to this guy and if you still think that he's got advice that you should take and take seriously, then you deserve everything that's coming your way. I love that while I'm talking about this extremely dark subject, chat is basically like, you can 3D print body parts. You could 3D print food. Can you actually 3D print food? Like it's not efficient though. Like that's the problem, right? Like you can't just take sand, put it into this machine and have it print food like it's a 3D replicator, right? Cuz that's when things get really bonkers, guys. No, it like yeah, of course rednecks are 3D printing gun parts. Are you kidding me? My assumption was that was what was driving the industry, Tinker. Like seems like there are two things that drive industries: guns and pornography. So, but Anemone, it's not about the ability to do it and the time it takes. It's about how much energy it takes, right? Like, it can you, like, do you get? Can you take resources that are easy to get and make something that's not so easy to get, that is edible and healthy and actually works? Like that's like, could I take like sand, right? Could I take like sand and put it into a machine and have it produce edible food that is actually healthy? Oh my God, Anemone. Anemone, what are you doing to my life right now? Okay, hold on. 3D printing food. Come on. Here we go. All we need to know. This is from February 24th. Food is definitely the most delicious application of 3D printing. Like, is this going to be a replicator? Like, that's really what I'm asking. Like, can I take a solar panel, right? Can I take a solar panel, connect a 3D printer to the solar panel, like take a shovel of sand or something that's easy to get, put it into the 3D printer, and then have it give me food? That's the question. Like, can the sun hit the solar panel and have, like, even like a paste, even an edible paste? Like, maybe not something that's, like, delicious, but, like, does it print something that can give people nourishment from something that is easy to get? That's the whole question. But this is what I'm talking about now. God damn it! Oh! Generally speaking, 3D printed food is a meal prepared through an automated additive process. While this definition can be quite abstract, think of those pizza vending machines that surfaced back in 2015. Like, this is the thing, is that it's like the promise. This is just automating shit. This isn't 3D printed food. Like, precision fermentation is what I'm talking about. Fermentation. God damn it. Precision fermentation uses biotechnology to re-engineer common microbes, such as yeast, to produce a protein or substance that is identical to those generally found in food. Like, this, look, it's all about replicator technology. Look at Star Trek. They look at the machine, and he goes, Earl Grey hot. And the machine goes, and then he gets a cup of tea. That's what it is. That if your shit's not doing that, then I don't care. Straight up, I don't care. And it doesn't have to be like lasers and shit. But like, no. I'm grinning. No. I mean, replicators as they are shown in the world of Star Trek are magic, certainly. Like, but I actually do believe that it is completely possible, and it should be completely possible, to have a machine that we take matter, and we put the matter into the machine, and then the machine reconfigures the matter, right, to produce something that has nutritious value. And that initially it's not going to be like a plate of perfectly formed food. Like, that's silly. It's that initially it'll literally be like a bowl with like a gray paste in it that you're going to be able to eat, and it'll have like a taste that tastes like dirt, but it'll have all the nutrients you need. So you think like about like the goop that they were eating in the Matrix, right? Like that, the paste that they're eating in the Matrix. That's what I think, right? I'm not sitting here being like, and then it will produce a perfectly Susan with the goose, the goose today with the drizzle of the sibling, like none of that. Fuck all that. That's dumb. Like, I'm thinking more along the lines of just like a bowl of nutritious gray paste. That's all. Because if that machine exists, right? Like, if that machine exists, that has enormous revolutionary potential. Like, that to me is like a solar panel connected to a machine that takes in shovels of dirt and spits out food people can eat. Like, that has revolutionary potential. And everything else I look at, I kind of get the feeling that it's going to just be kind of a toy. Right? Like, just kind of a toy. George Monbois, precision fermentation. I respect George Monbois for sure. All right. Now I know why that one guy killed everyone for a steak in the Matrix. For sure. For sure. I shouldn't say like kind of like a toy. Like, that's too much. Because like, if it could print medicines, like if you could get medicines, if you could get even the tools, like I think about like imagine giving the people in imagine giving the people in Cuba a 3D printer with a solar panel attached to it, and just saying like, yeah, you can print a bunch of tools with this. Like, that by itself could be fairly revolutionary, right? And the Anemone's never seen the Matrix? Anemone. How dare you offend us so? How dare you offend us so? Matrix 1, the first Matrix movie, is a brilliant, brilliant movie. A brilliant movie. Matrix 2 and 3 were okay. Matrix 4, worthless. Completely worthless. They outright told you in the movie that it was worthless. Yeah, everyone give Anemone the silent treatment till she watches it. Good, yes. Yes. Anemone, we are Star Trek Klingon rejection ritual. This is what we're doing to you, Anemone. This is what we're doing. Right here. This is what's happening to you. Right now. I'm sorry, Anemone. Did you say something? I'm sorry. Tough shit, Anemone. Tough shit. What's this called? Discommendation. Discommendation. No. Methane said they're 3D printing guns in Myanmar to fight against their governments, apparently. They even got guns made specifically for them, called things like FGC-9. F gun control, dude. Yeah, like that's, there you go, Methane. Like, now we're actually talking about, now we're talking about why, like, this is what 3D printing is going to be actually used for, right? Like, we're humans, right? We're fucking humans. Like, we're going to make a bunch of guns. We're going to make a bunch of shit to blow each other up. Like, that's what we're going to do with it. Again, though, I'll say of the Matrix, the first one is really good. The first one is really, really good. The next two were fairly obvious cash grabs with like a little bit. The creators were trying to maintain like creative integrity and trying to keep the thing going and trying to make it still good. But then Matrix 4 was like literally like just a faff. Jade says, anyone see Tank Girl where the villain kills people and extracts water from them in a desert world? Yeah, scary closer now than ever. And also, Tank Girl, an unspoken and like just a brilliant cult film, right? A brilliant cult film that is, I think that if Tank Girl was made today, it'd be a much cooler film. Be a much cooler film. That they were fairly limited by the technology of the day, and so that the kangaroo dudes ended up being, they don't age well at all, right? Like they're the part of the whole thing that you're just like, ugh. But the woman they got to play Tank Girl and the assistant that is with her, and then the villain, like all of the actors are good. But the thing that holds it back is clearly like the makeup doesn't work. Yeah, The Matrix is a perfect film. Yeah, like there's a reason why The Matrix had such major cultural penetration. There's a reason why, because the film is so good. It's so and so much love. It's so obvious that was a labor of love. It was so obvious that there was so much care, so much dedication. Every part of it, every shot of it is just like absolutely done with like a level of care and consideration that you don't really see in filmmaking anymore. That like most films, certainly action films, certainly films that have a lot of action in them are fairly just faffy and don't have anything interesting to say, whereas like the Matrix, it begins as this really brilliant mystery, follow the white rabbit, and this really brilliant mystery that unfolds itself and then has this enormous, incredible twist on it that they actually kept under wraps. Usually when movies like this have these big gigantic twists in them, film studios can't help but ruin the twist because they have no credibility anymore and they don't care, and it all culminates in Neo finding his true power, and the director and writer is trans. And what's interesting about it is that people have recently begun describing The Matrix as a movie about transitioning and a movie about being a trans person. But I feel as though the narratives and the narrative structure of The Matrix is universally understood. That there's something universally true about The Matrix, which is why I think it has the penetration. And the fact that the director felt as though it was a story about transitioning, about being trans, actually shows you how understandable that journey should be to the mass of the people. That the mass of the people do understand the journey of the trans person. Because if the journey of the trans person is reflected in the film of The Matrix, then the general population understands that journey. Because the general population did not watch The Matrix thinking, this is about trans people. That is not what happened. that the general population watched a film that looked cool with cool special effects, where there was this incredible reveal, and the reveal of the Matrix itself, and that you're in the Matrix, and that you need to come out of the Matrix and gain your power within the Matrix. Yeah, about transcendence and all of that, right? And so I think that to say it's about a trans journey, I think is a fine thing to do, because I think it makes us understand and shows us fairly clearly that we understand what that journey looks like. Like, the general populace understands it. If that's what that movie was supposed to represent, then we understand what it means. And we should stop bullshitting ourselves about it. It's not confusing. We understand it. Why, Mr. Anderson? Why do you persist? You've not seen Matrix 4? Yeah, dude, don't bother. Like, I didn't see it. I'm not going to. All I actually need to know about the Matrix 4 is that they were going to make it without the Wachowski siblings. That the Wachowski siblings only got involved in the project because the film was going to be made anyway. And so they thought, well, okay, we might as well be the ones involved, and we might as well get the paycheck. Like, we might as well be the ones that make the money, right? If this project is getting made anyway. And and essentially everybody who got involved in that project essentially say the same thing. That they're like, they were going to make the film anyway. Like, they were going to make the film anyway. So I might as well get the paycheck. And, like, you can see it in, like, Keanu Reeves. Like, we're talking about a dude who's, like, doing John Wick movies, right? So it's not like he's not doing martial arts. It's not like he's not involving himself in those physical pursuits, right? He's doing John Wick, so he's healthy, he's ready, right? But in Matrix 4, everything he does is just, like, he holds up his hands. So he goes, go, and, like, stops bullets with, like, magic and shit, and he, like, throws magic. Right? So clearly all of these people are phoning this in. Right? Obviously they're all phoning it in. And it's just like, forget it. They were going to reboot it with Margot Robbie recently. May have fallen apart. What were they going to reboot? Matrix? Dude, they could put Margot Robbie in anything and it would be popular. She's just gold walking around right now. They could do what they like. The first Matrix has real Ursula Le Guin vibes. Well, because the first Matrix was actual cinema. Like, I think that's the big difference, right? Like, you think about the difference between Matrix 1 and Matrix 4. That Matrix 4 is basically just like the Marvelization of the Matrix franchise. And Marvel movies are not cinema, right? They don't really have a story. They don't really have anything worthwhile. They're more, and I agree with what Scorsese said. They're more like roller coasters, right? They're more like entertainment amusement park rides. But they're not cinema. The original Matrix was real cinema, was true cinema. Maybe one of the last great pieces of cinema that actually has come out, where it's the mystery of it. I remember, like, I was attracted to the Matrix, I think, like, how most people were, because they showed you that Trinity shot. The shot of Trinity going into the air, and the turning of the camera, and the martial arts, and the leather, and the sleekness of the whole thing, with the falling green numbers. It was so obvious that there was a mystery, and that mystery was connected to beautiful cinematography, beautiful martial arts, creative ideas, and sexy people. And so I think the entire culture was immediately attracted to this. We all immediately were just like, whatever this is, we must know. There's a mystery here. And the movie did a brilliant job, does a brilliant job of really maintaining that mystery. That the whole time Neo is going through the mystery, you're with him, and you're like, what in the fuck is going on? And that they introduce the Smiths, and they introduce all of these elements, and every time they introduce a new element, it just heightens the mystery and just makes you go like, what the fuck are you even talking about? What is happening in the world that Neo is living in? You're just like, what am I even looking at? And then it comes to the pill, and there's fucking Morpheus with the glasses. Like the glasses that he wears is the perfect choice because it's so a kilter and so different and so like fashionable. Like Morpheus looks amazing. He looks amazing. Lawrence Fishburne looks amazing in that movie, dude. Like and that moment with the pills. One of the most iconic outfits, one of the most iconic figures in cinematic history is Morpheus in that scene. And holding out the pills. And then Neo takes the pill, and I will never, ever, no one will ever be able to top the amount of shock that I experienced. And I think that the whole entire audience experienced. The very fucking last thing that we all expected to see was Neo waking up in a fucking vat of goo. Nobody expected that shit, dude. Nobody expected that shit. Nobody was sitting there being like, I bet he takes the pill and wakes up in a vat of goo. Nobody. And so and the whole sequence that follows it, the whole recognition that there's an entire history, that there's something separate, completely separated from what's been going on. Like it's very like to apply it to how it has been with communists. That meant a lot of the time I feel like I'm trying to wake people up out of the matrix to realize that there is a system of propaganda, that there is a system swirling around you, that the system works to reinforce itself, as we saw tonight with the TikTok ban. That the system actually works to enforce itself, and that to step outside of the system is the only way to look back at the system. But once you're outside of the system, coming back into the system, that's when you can attain true power within the system, by understanding and recognizing that it's false, that it's created, it's fake, it doesn't exist, it's not real. And the way we as communists do that is through evidence and facts. Just literally like, this is a fact. Like, what are you going to do about it? And no, I honestly wish, I genuinely wish that the Matrix had been left alone. I know that it wasn't, I even knew then that it wasn't going to be that way, that they were going to ruin it. And Matrix 2 and 3 were fine. But like, Matrix 4, when they came out with Matrix 4, I was like, here it is. Matrix 4 makes me angry, honestly. I can't talk about it positively. Yeah. Love Constantine. I hope they do another Constantine. Was Matrix 4 the way it was when Reeves was clearly showing he has chops with John Wick? I just think he didn't give a fuck. He didn't want to put the energy in. Right? Like, he knew the film wasn't going to be worth the effort. I think that's really what it comes down to. That, like, Keanu Reeves probably looked at the script and was like, oh, so you're just, like, doing it again. And they were like, yeah. And he was like, oh, okay. Like, that's it. Like, Matrix 4 doesn't actually build on anything. It just tells the story again. And so it sucks. It's just not a good story. It's not worth the effort. But and American Gods breaks my heart, because they did the same thing to American Gods, where instead of actually telling the fucking story, they were like, hey, we can get another season out of this. Right? Like, Gaiman is a god. Alan Moore, absolutely. Like, the most heartbreaking I've ever seen, the most heartbreaking transition from book to television I've ever seen is still Under the Dome by Stephen King. Under the Dome really, really, really hurt my heart. Really, really hurt my heart what they did to that. And it hurt especially bad. Like, I encountered Under the Dome, Stephen King novel, at my local library, and just picked it up on a lark, because I had to take a flight, and I needed a book on the flight. And so it was just sitting there. It was like Stephen King, a new one. And I was just like, okay, great. And I just picked it up because it was Stephen King, and Stephen King's fairly reliable. And I was entranced by it. I'm no spoilers or anything. I'm not going to ruin anything, but it has in it. Yeah, I'm not even going to say anything else. It's just a brilliantly written book that has a lot to say about the human condition and about how humans would operate. And the whole premise of the piece is just that a small rural town suddenly has a dome over it. That's it, a glass dome as far as anyone's concerned. That's it. That's the whole premise. And the people of the town deal with it. And the characters are so perfectly, like, I know every single one of the people in that book. Like Stephen King, it was like he took people I knew from my town growing up, and were just like, yeah, this guy's there, and this guy's there. And he acts basically exactly how you'd think they would. And so they took this story, which was truly excellent. One of Stephen King's best, no doubt. One of Stephen King's best. And they made a television show about it. And the first 6 episodes, and it made me so excited, because the first 6 episodes were scene for scene, line for line, a direct recreation. Just straight up, they took the book, they read the line, they filmed the line, they kept doing that. And I was just like, this is perfect. This is exactly what they should be doing. It blows my brain away to see television and movie producers deviate from the script. I think it's the most arrogant, despicable, insulting thing that I see, and it happens every single time. Where here's a piece of art that is so popular in its medium that we feel we should transition it to another medium, but only if we change it. You're arrogant. You're arrogant. And your work should fail, and you should feel bad for doing it. You guys are going to start talking about season 8. You guys are going to start talking about season 8 of Game of Thrones. Fuck that. Fuck that season. Fuck that season so hard. I am dead convinced. I'm dead convinced that they are going to I'm dead convinced that the showrunners for Game of Thrones sabotaged that on purpose for Disney, because that's where they went. They went to Disney after Game of Thrones, and I think that Disney paid them to ruin it on purpose. That, like, sorry. The prologue of A Song in Ice and Fire. If you go and pick up Game of Thrones, the first book in A Song of Ice and Fire, the prologue is the White Walkers. The whole story, it's called A Song of Ice and Fire. Yeah, I'm glad. Those people should be chased out of the business. Like, they should be chased out of the business. They should be blacklisted. Like, 100%. They should not be permitted to work in the business any longer. They shouldn't be allowed to run a child's puppet show. Like, they should not be permitted to be involved in any artistic pursuit whatsoever. They shouldn't be allowed to own and operate a Chuck E. Cheese. Like, they should not be permitted to do anything that involves any kind of entertainment at all. They shouldn't be allowed to run a stand at a carnival. They should not be permitted to run anything and be involved in any pursuit that involves entertaining anyone for any reason at any time. Like, we should legislate it. We should ban them on purpose. Like, this is how strongly I feel about this issue. Like, these guys took a piece of work that obviously had the obvious ending to the Game of Thrones story, to the story of A Song of Ice and Fire. The ending is so clearly White Walkers storming down to King's Landing. All of the humans at King's Landing forming a line. Cersei in the background backstabbing people. Jon as this fucking warg figure, like shapeshifter back from the dead, cleaving a mystical magical sword as a fucking paladin. Dragons in the sky, literally fighting one another. A goddamn druid summoning wargs and direwolves and crows and shit. Tyrion Lannister throwing fireballs and Daenerys riding the dragon, throwing magical spears atop of it. Like, fucking Arya blinking in and out of the shadows, slaying the undead as she goes, while this ungodly horde of demons constantly are just gabbling forward, destroying everything they see in front of them. Oh yeah, we're gonna finish that up in episode 2 of season 8. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. It was embarrassing. The people who did it should be embarrassed. The actors should have gone on strike when they read the script. The fact that the actors showed up and allowed that to be filmed is embarrassing. I'm glad none of them can find any work. I'm glad that the whole thing's been a catastrophe. They wasted 10 years of their life on this dreck, this obvious bullshit that nobody should have participated in. The animators shouldn't have animated it. The directors shouldn't have shown up. It was a betrayal of the highest possible level of the concept of art itself. Fuck you. Fuck you. Should have been the response from literally everyone at every point, at every step along the way. You will not film this. It was a complete betrayal. And the major reason why I don't watch anything anymore. Like, it's one of the major reasons that I will watch something once it's completely finished, once it's totally done, and enough people say it's actually good. Because that's what Hollywood is now. That's what it is. That the only reason they're producing anything good is so that they can betray you on purpose. That's what they're actively all doing by policy on purpose to maximize profits for themselves. And they've essentially told you that's what they're doing. There's no reason to watch this. There's no reason to participate in any of this. And if HBO survives off like softcore porn, great. That's fine. I don't give a shit. That's fine. Like, oh no. Like, oh no. I am more or less of the opinion that they just didn't want to film the magic, that the CGI was too expensive for them, that they just cheaped out on it because they understood, like, if that episode, my assumption when I was watching that episode was that the White Walkers were going to take Winterfell. That the White Walkers were going to take Winterfell, a bunch of characters were going to die. Like, there's this scene that I can remember where it was the very tall woman with the blonde hair. I forget her name offhand, but she was like surrounded by these zombies and like fighting them. I just assumed that she was dead. Like, I assumed that there was like a lot of characters that were just going to die and that some of the characters were going to escape and flee to King's Landing. with the Brienne of Tarth, that's right, with the White Walkers storming down after them, right? That the White Walkers were going to win at Winterfell. That was my assumption. It was like, this is episode 2 of this season. Here's, like, really truthfully, like, the first actual major conflict, right? Like the Night King breached the wall. You could say that the wall was a major conflict if you like, but it wasn't really when you consider the horde of undead that exists and existed. That the first time that the White Walkers actually have a real fight and fight a real enemy, they lose immediately. And then there's 6 more episodes of what? The story's name is A Song of Ice and Fire. Like, brutal. Brutal. And BoJack Horseman's another betrayal, if you ask me. That BoJack Horseman started to actually talk about capitalism and started to actually bring capitalist themes in, and so they canceled it. That's what happened. And BoJack Horseman was actually saying some really interesting stuff about the nature of being alive, and about existentialism, and about trying to forgive oneself, and about self-sabotage, and about what it is to be alive, and the folly of the pursuit of wealth, and the folly of the pursuit of fame. And it was saying such fascinating and interesting things, and they canceled it for the obvious reason that it was starting to turn its eye on capitalism itself. And so they can't have that. Can't say something meaningful about the system that you live in, right? Like, you want a very, very clear example of why our society and why our culture is dying. It's BoJack Horseman. That they take something like that and they understand, oh yeah, we cannot have this conversation. We are not permitted to have a meaningful conversation about capitalism. It's not allowed. Ligand Disease says, John, have you seen the Netflix Cyberpunk Edgerunners anime? What did I make of the ending? I mean, written in the stars, right? Like, that's what it was supposed to be. A brilliant show, if you ask me. Advancing the genre, I think. Like, we're growing up, right? Like, we're growing up. We need to see more adult-oriented content that doesn't treat us like children. And and I think that Cyberpunk Edgerunners manages it to a degree. I think that they could go further. Game of Thrones disappointed me most in pretending a queen would rise was a white man in the end. Yeah, not an uber feminist or anything, but it felt underwhelmingly unoriginal. Yeah, because at the end of the day, these guys were hacks. That's the truth. At the end of the day, these guys were hacks. That when they had a script to follow, they were doing fine. But when they went off script, they just took the paycheck from Disney and just shat out something to destroy the competition. Like, they were hacks. Like they all are. Like, all of these people are hacks. John, have you watched Mr. Robot yet? I haven't, because I don't trust it. Simple. So here's one recommendation from someone for Mr. Robot. Very good. Maybe I will start thinking about watching Mr. Robot if I see anyone else recommend it. Because, like, yeah, I don't trust these people. I don't just put their garbage on because, like, I'd literally rather watch YouTube. I'd literally rather watch, like, commentary videos where people are looking at memes on YouTube than watch the shit that's coming out of these people. Like, I think that has more value. I think there's something more there. There's something more intrinsically true and real to watching, like, shitty YouTube videos where people are giggling about memes that are circulating. I think there's something more intrinsically human, more intrinsically real, more intrinsically tied to the reality of our culture than the garbage that's coming out of Hollywood. Like these studios should be shut down as far as I'm concerned. Like they're meaningless. They're totally fucking meaningless. Am I the only one excited to see a Lady Gags Harlequin? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I assume that's Lady Gaga. Oh, I feel like I have heard of this. I get a little worried about musicals. Like, I like musicals, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not sitting here shitting on anything because it's a musical. But, like, is this a musical version of Joker? Because I gotta be honest, man. Like, Joker is one of those films that I think, like, it actually manages to... it is actually good. Like, it is actually good. Like, that's the thing. I want to see The People's Joker, but Corporate Goons has that movie on ice. Yeah. Well, and my concern for a Joker sequel is that it's essentially just going to become toothless. Like, the reason why the first Joker movie was good and had power to it is because it was fundamentally a critique of the society. And it's so rare to see a film that actually even takes a swing at that concept, that even attempts to say, hey, maybe we should actually try to show the society as it is and say something as a criticism to it. That most of the time, films are basically just a kind of a circle jerk. Like, the entire Marvel franchise and DC for the most part are basically just circle jerks. And Joker was a film that was actually like, no, the world's not nice. People aren't nice in it. We are living in a system that is abandoning people with mental illnesses, right? And that was like the central core thesis of that film, was that Arthur, as the Joker, gets abandoned and essentially is left to fend for himself, succumbs to a degree to his mental illness, but leaves the audience sort of sitting there going, yeah, fuck these guys. Like, fuck these people. Like, at the end of the day, we maybe don't condone the things that he does, but we certainly understand them. And we certainly sit there thinking to ourselves, I can see how anyone could fall down this trajectory. I could see how any person in these circumstances could find themselves going down that trajectory. If you ask me, I think Joker had a lot to say about the school shooting phenomenon, about the mass shooting phenomenon going up throughout the United States. That it shows you the trajectory of a mass shooter. It shows you this trajectory of a person whose life is in decay, with support systems being stripped away, with life becoming more difficult, and then on top of it also struggling with these mental illnesses that he obviously has. So like that the original Joker has power. And so my concern is that Joker 2 is going to be basically a jerk-off. That maybe it'll be good. Like, maybe it'll have some, like, music in it. And maybe it'll be a fine thing to watch. Right? As good as any of the other crap that they're coming out with. And, like, people will be, like, singing the songs and, like, and you know, and maybe Lady Gaga even will become, like, her Harley Quinn will become kind of iconic, and we'll have like a conversation about who did Harley Quinn better, the way that we do like the conversation about which Joker is better and all that kind of stuff, right? But like in terms of the actual commentary about what's going on, I think it'll be a jerk off. I'll be surprised if it even tries. Like, for real, I'll be actually, if I'm sitting there watching that film and it even attempts to make any critique whatsoever of the society that it lives in, I'll actually go, oh, I think that I don't expect it. I think the only reason that the deal got made to make a second one was because the capitalists can't help themselves and they need to make more money. But the deal was, yeah, you can do. We want another one of these because we'll make a bunch of money, but you better put a lid on that shit. And I think that everyone's going to say, yeah, okay, great. I think that everybody on that project kind of understood what they got away with, right? Everybody on that project kind of understood that they kind of pulled one over. I don't think the capitalist owners really understood what was happening while it was happening, and because I don't think they're very smart. But it became pretty obvious pretty fast, and now you're not going to see that happen again, right? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, I ain't going to get fooled again, right? Yeah, Bruce Wayne is a capitalist oligarch. They sort of addressed that a little bit in The Batman, which, funnily enough, The Batman actually was good. Like, it's funny how that worked, you know? That all it really needed to do was actually address the reality of Bruce Wayne. That instead of being a story about Batman and glorifying the Bat and glorifying this, it really was a story about Bruce Wayne and how the Batman was created from a place of deep grief, how Bruce had no support systems whatsoever, which is essentially admitted by Alfred. Alfred essentially admits he wasn't up to the task of dealing with Bruce. Bruce is basically left alone in his parents' mansion with no direction. Obviously has no idea what's happening around him. To me, that was a big striking part about that movie, The Batman, was how obvious it was that Bruce Wayne was clueless. He didn't know who anybody was. People who worked with his family, people who worked with his father, people who were business partners. He had no idea who they were, what their businesses looked like, any of that. That Batman can only come out of a place of deep detachment and deep delusion. That Batman can only exist from somebody who has no idea what's happening in the world around them. And that as the story went on, it became more and more and more and more apparent that the figure of the Batman has no justification for his existence. That it doesn't make sense that Batman should even exist as a figure or as a character. There's literally no reason whatsoever for Bruce Wayne to put this costume on and walk around talking about being vengeance. That he's not honoring the death of his parents. He's not honoring any of this. He's just cosplaying justice. He's just cosplaying vengeance. He's not actually doing any of that. But at the end, he doesn't really learn his lesson because there needs to be sequels. There's a very practical reason for it. But he changes his ethos from one of vengeance to one of power. And so I'll be very curious to see, as the sequels unfold, are they going to continue this analysis of Bruce Wayne? Because that's what that movie is. It's actually an analysis of Bruce Wayne, which is the first time the franchise has ever done it, right? I've never seen any Batman ever attempt to even address the idea that Bruce Wayne is a thing, really. That it's always been just Batman and Bruce Wayne is the thing that's being cosplayed. But the Batman actually said, no, Bruce Wayne is what's real. Batman is the cosplay. And as the sequels go on, I wonder if they're going to try to maintain that, or if they're just going to abandon it. That are they going to continue to ask themselves the question, why does Bruce Wayne do this? What is Bruce Wayne's motivation? Why does Bruce Wayne continuously feel that it's necessary to act as a vigilante in this way? Why does he continue to operate in this kind of detached, separated from his society, and yet feels that he needs to involve himself in his society in this way? And the only ending to this particular franchise, this particular Batman franchise, that I think I can accept, is that Bruce Wayne comes to understand that the Batman has to die. It's the only cinematic ending that I think is actually acceptable, because I think that we shouldn't that at the end of the day, Batman is for children, and if we are to grow up as a people, just as Bruce Wayne needs to grow up as a person, then we all collectively have to go along with Bruce Wayne as he kills Batman. And we have to grow up and put these toys behind us. No. Batman has to die. Bruce Wayne has to come to understand that Batman only exists because of his own trauma. And Batman only exists as a way for him to sustain and maintain his own trauma. And that if he's ever going to heal, and if he's ever going to interact appropriately with society, if he's ever going to be a force for good, to actually do something good in his society, Batman has to die. Batman has to die. He's spending all his money on toys to beat up street thugs instead of trying to enact the vision of his father, which was to ameliorate the poverty that his own institution and his own company is responsible for creating. Batman has to die. And it's the only ending to that franchise that I will accept. Anything else is just meaningless fluff. Just put it in the bin. It's just Christian Bale's Batman, fine. Like another one, okay. But if you actually want real cinema, if you actually want something that's going to have us looking back on it, like the way that we look at like The Godfather, or the way that we look at big cinematic films of the past, like Rosebud, Citizen Kane, right? Then it's got to have an ending that actually has some meaning attached to it. It isn't just Batman looking at the American flag going, stand for justice. It's got to actually say something real about the human that is Bruce Wayne. And if it's if it isn't to kill the Batman and live as Bruce Wayne, then I don't know why we're watching this thing. Like, why are we watching it? Who gives a shit? Who cares about Batman being Batman again? Who cares? Like, where's the growth? Where's the journey? Where's the catharsis? Where's the meaningful ending? Where's anything worthy of our analysis whatsoever? Why is this worth our time? Who gives a shit? Like, just go watch cat videos. Yeah, if Tony Soprano can get therapy, so can Wayne. Easy Sploit says, guys, I just saw the Mario movie. It was amazing, 10 out of 10. You should watch Mario movie. I actually get the sense, and I always have had the sense, that movie was going to be pretty okay. Like, I don't think it's going to, like, shake the foundations of anything, but I bet it's a good movie. right? Like, how could it not be? It's got a brilliant cast. I think Nintendo actually cares about the product that they're putting into the world. The animation looks really good. I think it's kind of sticking to the traditional arc of what the story is, and the story couldn't be simpler, right? Bowser kidnaps Peach and Mario tries to save her, right? Fairly straightforward storytelling. You don't need to mess around with the formula. You just need some like funny moments from people who are naturally funny and interesting, right? Like, is the movie going to like stand the test of time and be this great cinematic masterpiece? No, but I don't think they're trying to do that, and I think they know what they want to do, and they're going to do it. They couldn't screw it up twice. 90s Super Mario movie was phenomenally terrible. How dare you, Jade? 90s Super Mario is a cinematic masterpiece. Fight me. The truth of the 90s Super Mario Brothers movie was that the director of the film wanted to make a different movie. That the movie that we watched was somewhat close to the movie that he wanted to make, but he had to make room and accommodate. He had to make room and accommodate for all of this Super Mario stuff that he was told he needed to include. He wasn't allowed to make the movie he wanted to make. And so you ended up with what you ended up with. And phenomenally terrible is the word. Deliciously campy. Yeah, it's really bad. Like, but it's beautifully bad. Do you understand what I mean by this? Like, you're gonna watch that movie and you're gonna be happy that you did. I think that's where you're gonna land. That you're gonna walk away from it being like, that was a piece of shit that I'm so happy I spent the time watching. It's got the guy from Who Framed Roger Rabbit in it. John Leguizamo is in it. Dennis Hooper plays Bowser. And the Bowser he plays is basically Donald Trump. Like, he kind of just takes Donald Trump and does Donald Trump. Yeah. It's a good time. It's good. I'm happy to hear, though, that the Mario movie ended up being good. I kind of assumed that it would be. Right? Speaking of bad video game movies, whatever happened to Uwe Boll? Man, those movies. Is that the Resident Evil shit? And the NYPD has 400-pound robot dogs, eh? Well, I'm not going to pass that one up. Oh, also, wasn't Sandman Season 2 canceled? I heard something about that. Oh, yeah, of course. They're gonna do it, and they're gonna spread it as far apart as they possibly can. Okay, I had heard a rumor that they were canceling it, but we'll see. Okay, NYPD, 400-pound robot dogs. Here we go. NYPD RoboCops. Hulking 400-pound robots will start patrolling New York City. Mayor says new surveillance bots are only the beginning of police force revamp. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. I have to go. Somewhere there is a crime happening. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. RoboCop, by the way. Brilliant film. My suggestion to everyone is to watch the movie RoboCop, but turn the sound off and just admire the actor walking in that suit. Like, because he's just, it's just him. He's just walking. They look eerily similar to the death bots in Black Mirror. I bet that's on purpose, right? These people are psychopaths, right? Like, we're dealing with a psychopathic culture. The people who are in power have lost their minds. I bet they took a look at those death bots and thought to themselves, yeah, we'll do the death bots. That'll show all of these people. This is why Mark Saunders can't win. Is that what he's running on? He's running on police robots? Can I be really straight with you, though, guys? I don't think that these things are going to last. Like, I feel like people will destroy these things. To be fair, they'll be supplementary. It won't just be the robot dog by himself. The New York City Police Department bringing back the idea of policing the city with robots. The department experimented with Boston Dynamics Spot. Oh, that's nice. They called him Spot. Right? In 2021, and shut the project down after a public outcry from civil liberties groups. The idea is being brought back by New York City's new mayor, Eric Adams, who was elected in 2022, and described himself multiple times during the announcement as a computer geek. Adams is a former NYPD captain and ran on a platform of reducing crime. I know exactly how to reduce crime. Kill all the citizens. If we kill all the citizens, it will reduce crime. I know what we'll do. We'll take all the people and put them in little boxes that they can't get out of. That'll reduce crime. Look, everyone, it worked. Crime went down. Because we killed all the people and put them in little boxes. Crime went down. We're the greatest. Designing the legs similar to four-legged animals ensures we can't outrun them. Clever clowns. Like, you can't just put cameras on street corners. You gotta have fucking Terminators. Yeah. Like, yeah, right? Most police departments already have an arsenal of robots, but they're usually for bomb disposal. You know, something that we should use robots for, without a doubt. Not the day-to-day patrolling work that New York City envisions. Bomb disposal robots are usually just fancy remote-controlled cars. Totally dumb remote control devices that have no automation or require one or several people to operate. New York City wants semi-autonomous robots patrolling the streets. Adams says if we're not willing to move forward and use technology on how to properly keep cities safe, then you will not keep up with those things doing harmful things. Like, it's happening, guys. It's happening. We're turning into a nightmare dystopia, guys. We're doing it. Aren't you excited? Aren't you excited to be walking around your streets seeing these little fucking psychopathic terrorists walking around terrorizing people? I can't wait. I can't wait. My favorite is that when we start protesting, they're just obviously going to go into the middle of people and shoot them with tasers and launch smoke bombs and shit. Like, that's pretty obvious, right? How much longer until they just put a gun on this? Like, for active patrol work, the NYPD plans to deploy one Nightscope K5 robot. This is 400-pound, 5-foot-tall wheeled robots that look like a real-life giant R2-D2. Here you go. The egg-shaped robot has no appendages and is mostly just a ball of sensors. It has 360-degree camera systems, a thermal camera, LiDAR sonar, GPS, 16 microphones and speakers to play back pre-recorded or live messages. It can autonomously patrol an area, detect people, and recognize license plates, and has facial recognition. Though the NYPD claims facial recognition will not be used. Yeah, right. As a wheeled robot, it can only access ADA-compliant areas via ramps. So we're giving Nazis R2-D2 robots. We're not the Empire. Are we the baddies? Are we the baddies? Are we the bad guys, do you think, guys? Are we the bad guys? I can't tell if we're the bad guys or not. What do you think? What do you think? The K5 is pitched as an autonomous security robot and was unveiled in 2014. K5 units have made the news for various incidents, like driving into a pond or running over children. New York City, but you know, honestly, K5 units have made the news for various incidents like driving into a pond or running over children, like normal police officers. They'll fit right in. New York City is renting the robot for 6 months at a cost of $9 per hour. So, this robot getting paid higher than the minimum wage. New York Police Department Chief Jeffrey Madry said the robot would be deployed in July as a pilot program and will patrol Times Square or the subway station. The robot will have a human partner. Yeah, the human partner's there to make sure we don't fuck with the robot. Like, this is what's obviously going to happen, right? We're all going to fuck with this robot, right? Nobody's going to just watch the robot go around and be like, oh, there's a robot. Well, isn't that a thing? People are going to shoot paintballs at this thing. Like, people are going to do stuff to it. Like, another plan for a RoboCop, they're literally just going to call it a RoboCop. Just fucking use the human brain already. Just do it. Just take the human brain and put it inside of a robot already. Just do it. You want to. You want to so bad. And then literally call it Murphy so that the circle will be completed. Just create RoboCop already so that future generations could be like, oh, life imitating art. Fuck you. Another plan for a RoboCop is the same as last time. Deploying Boston Dynamics Spot Robot Dog, which the NYPD nicknamed Digadog. Digidog. Spot is a $75,000 robot, not including attachments, that can autonomously patrol a mapped out course, follow a person, and go up and down steps. The robot is meant for industrial remote monitoring and inspection, so there are tons of remote control and recording capabilities too. Spot has several optional payloads. In 2021, the NYPD outfitted it with the Spot Cam, which features a pan-tilt zoom camera, the 30 times optical zoom, and a second 360-degree camera. In the photo op at this latest announcement, pictured above, Spot is outlined with the Spot Cam Plus IR, which adds a thermal camera and two-way audio into the mix, along with the Spot Arm attachment, which can open doors and manipulate other objects. So far, the NYPD plans to deploy 2 of the Spot robots. So when one of these robots sits on George Floyd's neck, and George Floyd's like, I can't breathe, and then the robot kills George Floyd, the police can just be like, oh, it was a technical error. We were trying to get the robot off of George's back, but a technical error. So they're putting like layers of what's that called? What's that called? When there's like when they can say, oh, it wasn't me. Oh, it wasn't me. It was this thing. So they can play dumb. Like, they can add layers of it. So they can murder people in the streets and be like, oh, it was an accident, you see. Oh, there was a malfunction in the robot, and we're looking into it. Yeah, it's what we're doing. We're just giving the police force the plausible deniability. Thank you, Methane. Methane nails it. Yeah, Kaya gets it as well. Plausible deniability. That we are literally giving the police the perfect tool to murder black people, let's be honest, to murder black people in the streets, and then be like, oh, goodness, you know what? That black person must have done something wrong. You know, if he had just complied with the robot, everything would have been completely fine. Spot isn't doing autonomous patrol work yet. The NYPD says it will be used for high-risk incidents, like hostage situations, and hazardous material inspection. So basically a job similar to a bomb robot. The NYPD is buying 2 Spot robot dogs. Various progressive groups are again calling this move a waste of money. One group said the Surveillance Technology Oversight Project, STOP, said wasting public dollars to invade New Yorkers' privacy is a dangerous police stunt, and added that New York should be investing in actual human beings, not robots. It's like a movie, right? Like it is. It's like a movie. Like I can see the guy standing at the podium being like, what? This is wasting public dollars to invade New Yorkers' privacy. It's a dangerous police stunt. New York should be investing in actual human beings, not robots. And then RoboCop stomps by, and everybody pauses, where he's like, "Hey, we should be investing in human beings." And everyone's like, as he walks by, right? Perfect. Adams dismissed those as concerns from a vocal minority and says that today is only the beginning of the city's embrace of new policing technology. These people are psychopaths, man. Like, these people are fucking ridiculous. Yeah, exactly. Ligon to Z. I think that that's accurate, actually. Dude, for real, put that comment in the discourse, in the resources. I'm not joking. Conservatives will start saying shit like, how can robots be racist? Abso-fucking-lutely, dude. That is the prediction of the month. Without a doubt. I think you're right on the money. Like, what? So a robot killed a black guy. How could robots aren't racist? How could a robot be racist? Abso-fucking-lutely, dude. Abso-fucking-lutely. They already have computer brain. It's called organic intelligence or something, made of organelles that act like small brains. Dude, it's just gonna get creepy as shit. It's just gonna get creepy as shit. The story is going to be that there's like, yeah, there was a good cop in the field and he got shot, but he checked the box saying that he could donate his organs, and so we used pieces of his brain to put into the organelles that operate the robotic system. So we're happy that our police force is still living on here in our robotic police forces. They taught the organelles to play ping pong. Perfect. Yeah, perfect, dude. Like, that's not a nightmare dystopia. That's not the creepiest shit ever, right? Normal society being completely normal, right? Like, yeah, of course. Let's take human brains and put them into robots and make them learn how to play ping pong. Normal thing that normal people do. Not at all creepy and weird. How are Canadian Shen communists? I'm doing well, bud. I'm doing well. I kind of have to pee. I'm a little tired. I'm a little bit bummed that the TikTok ban happened. I got to admit, I'm a little bit bummed. But we've been talking about movies. Which is nice. It's nice to talk about the culture. It's nice to talk about things that matter but don't, if you understand me. Like, movies and all that kind of stuff, like, they matter, but they don't, you know? Yeah, it's not the first time. It probably won't be the last. I suspect that there'll be a day where I'm banned completely on TikTok and I'll have to start again. I watched, that's happened to other socialists and communists on the platform. I'm trying to get myself into a mindset where I'm going to wear it like a badge of honor, you know, where I'm going to say to myself, yeah, good, I got banned, right? Oh, I got banned. Okay, good, right? Like, that means I'm a threat, right? That means I'm a threat. And that's kind of the mindset that I'm trying to get myself into, because, like, we're ruled by psychopaths. Like, these people are psychos. Right? Like, is there anybody in the system at this moment that you could describe as anything less than a total, like, if not a psychopath, then certainly a sociopath? Like, people like Justin Trudeau, Pierre Poilievre, like, these people are exclusively self-interested, and they're going to say anything they can say in order to advance themselves. They do not give a shit about anything else. They do not care about anyone else. They care about themselves exclusively. They don't even care about their own children. Like, that's how fucking crazy these people are. Conrad, no freedom of speech. Yeah, thought we had that, sadly. Yeah, nope. Get over that idea. That's a fucking dumb idea. There's no freedom of speech, dude. Like, what are you even talking about? Like, near as I can tell, we are one step off from straight up McCarthy purges, where people are going to be brought. Like, we saw it with the TikTok guy, that the TikTok guy was brought in front of the Congress, and they were asking him, like, are you part of the Communist Party of China? All right, like, for real. Like, so it's not too much longer until we get somebody like this Crenshaw guy, and I think it will be someone like Dan Crenshaw, bringing people up in front of the Congress, doing a straight up McCarthy panel, being like, are you or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party? Right? Just wait for it. They'll say that phrase. They'll straight up say that phrase. Right? And do you have any ties to the Communist Party of China? What are your ties to the Communist Party of China? We have here a document that says that you had a conversation with a member of the Chinese Communist Party. Like, here in Canada, you're seeing that shit with the going after the Chinese communists. Chinese communists are getting involved in our elections. We've got credible evidence that shows that a Chinese embassy brought some Chinese immigrants to a voting booth. Yeah, it's interference, if you ask me. Like, yeah, but they're all stupid questions. Like, they can't not ask stupid questions at this point, Conrad. Like, the whole thing is stupid. Right? So, like, the whole thing is stupid. And so, if you're bought in to a stupid system, you've got to ask stupid questions. You've got to say stupid things. Like, you have to. There's nothing else to say. Because if you start asking questions that are real, like if you start asking meaningful questions that actually matter, well, then you're going to steadily realize, I shouldn't even say steadily, you're going to quickly realize, oh wait, this whole thing's fucking dumb, isn't it? This whole thing's ridiculous, what we're doing. That what we're literally doing as a people, simultaneously, all at once, choosing to, as a people, we are exchanging clean water, breathable air, workable land, infrastructure that works, our capacity to research, our capacity to create things and manufacture stuff. We're exchanging all of it, so 100 people can get more paper we create in the first place. Literally, that's what we're doing. And once you understand that we are exchanging everything that matters, in reality, for literal numbers on a screen, for people who already have billions of numbers on screens that we invented and created and make out of thin air in the first place. As soon as you recognize that that's what we're doing, then everything these people say is fucking stupid. Because they are the stupidest people in the history of humanity. That you can't defend the system and maintain your intellectual credibility. You can't argue from a position of this system is fine and actually be intelligent. All you can do, all you can say, all you can be is stupid. And I take your point, that guy. I do. I just don't. So my challenge, I suspect, that guy, and I'll read this comment because I think it's worth talking about. Because I think about this. I do think about this. Hey, John, I'm not sure if you saw my message earlier, but you should be mindful of words like stupid, idiot, dumb, moron, insane, crazy, as they are ableist terms. So the struggle I'm having, that guy, and I am actually asking for your help. I actually am. This is not rhetorical. How do we discuss the foolishness of what it is we're doing? How do we discuss, and what terms should we use, and how can we address, and still be taken seriously? Because I think this is another part of it, that by addressing this issue and saying the thing that I just said, I do think that there are segments of the society that just like roll their eyes at that and go like, oh, this guy's just calling everybody dumb. So how do we seriously address the overwhelming foolishness, the overwhelming stupidity, the idiocy, the dumbness, the moronacy, the insanity, the craziness? How do we actually talk? How do we actually talk about this? And I'm not asking this rhetorically, because I want to crack that code. I need to find this language for how to address the overwhelming ridiculousness, the absurdity of exchanging everything that matters to anyone for nothing. We can say foolish. Yeah, as I was saying, foolish. Foolish seemed right. Foolish seemed correct. I do have a Discord, Conrad. If you donate $1 to my Patreon, I can get you in, okay, bud? Yeah. Our material conditions are not improving. However, our artificial systems that require real resources to function are not only very exploitive, but also wasteful and harmful. Victims. They're victims and don't even know it. They're not taught better, yeah. That's okay, Conrad. I appreciate it, dude. I know. We're all trying. We're all struggling. Yeah, illogical, irrational, inhumane, soulless. Yeah. That's quite all right, Conrad. I'm just happy you're in the chat, bud. I think the reason why I find myself attracted to the word stupid is because it's such a clock on the nose. You know? I think that's what it is. More than any other word. Like idiocy, lunacy, stupidity. Something about stupid seems the most accurate, and it seems the most on the nose. You know? That I genuinely feel like if I were to produce a piece of art to try to encapsulate what is happening, I get the sense that at some point someone would say to me, bit on the nose, don't you think, John? And I would say, yeah, good, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. I mean, I'm trying to put it on their nose. Like, when you're in a fight with someone, you usually want to put your punches on their nose. Or their chin. And stupid has that feeling. But at the same time, I think it's like succumbing to... Like, we can't... The trouble I've been having with this... Like, I think this is fine to say in-house. You know what I mean? Like, to talk about the stupidity and the ridiculousness and the foolishness of all of this in-house. But I don't think it's particularly effective. And that's steadily what I've come to realize. Is that I just don't think it's particularly effective to the wider culture. I think that it's, if you're preaching to the choir, it's one thing. But I don't think that the average citizen, and I don't think the regular people out in the world are responding well to it. Like, I don't think it's going to do what you want it to do. I don't think it's going to do what I want it to do, which is to be persuasive. Because that's what it's about. It's about being persuasive. And if you can't be persuasive, and if you can't change people's hearts and minds, and if people are going to entrench in their position, like if what you're saying is just going to entrench somebody in their position more, then it's failed. It doesn't work. And so I think it's fine for us to acknowledge the foolishness internally, but I do think that I've got to admit and come to a point where I say I don't think it's an effective strategy. Because the whole idea is to convince people that you are right. And we are right. Like, come on. Like, we're not saying anything that's even remotely controversial, if you ask me. That the only reason it carries with it any controversy whatsoever is because we live in a society that's structured itself to believe that these things are controversial. But Jay, do you know what really changed my mind on a lot of this? Was a situation I had with a fellow on TikTok that, like, by saying like, you're stupid, or you're dumb, or you're just believing something that's stupid. Even saying that, believing something that's stupid, right? So I had somebody tagged me in someone else's TikTok video, and it was basically him just espousing the normal CIA propaganda, right? And he was saying it as like a dunk on communists, right? He had stitched some teenage communist. And so I just said that to him. I was just like, you're basically just espousing the CIA line, just uncritically believing the CIA. And the guy leaves in my comment section on that video, the guy leaves a book. And the name of the book, because he thinks this is a big checkmate, right, was The Red Famine by Anne Applebaum. Right? And so I take a look at Anne Applebaum and the Red Famine. Right? Now, here's the truth. Here's a guy who is being anti-communist, giving a source, right? Giving a source. Like, he's not just saying things. And the source that he gives is written by somebody who worked at The Economist and The Spectre, was a member of the editorial board of The Washington Post. She won the Pulitzer Prize in 2004 for A Gulag, A History. She's a staff writer for The Atlantic, senior fellow at the Aurora Institute of the Johns Hopkins University School of Advanced International Studies. If you don't know any better, she sounds very, very established, right? She sounds very credible. Right? This sounds extremely credible. And if you are just a guy who's going to your local bookstore, and you're just a guy who's like, I want to know more about communism, and I want to know more about this stuff, and people around me are starting to say communism's a thing, but my dad says communism's no good, and so I'm going to get this all sorted out. I'm going to get this all figured out. So I'm going to go read a book from a Pulitzer Prize winner, right? Because they don't understand how bad it's gotten. They don't understand how large the grift is. That they're in the matrix and they don't know it. And they're reading the things that the matrix is producing and believing it. And what's amazing about this particular example, and I really feel like this was a good example. A good example, and something that really changed my mind a little bit. and altered the way I view things. Is that here was a credible seeming person, right? And then I went to the Red Famine. The book received a number of positive reviews from mainstream Western press, such as the New York Times and the Guardian. Again, another reason to really pay attention to it. However, there were also negative reviews by some academics. So if you click on these, right, what you end up, the one that I ended up using, was a review by Mark Togger, who teaches history at West Virginia University. So a straight up academic. And that was one thing that made me recognize, oh yeah, Anne Applebaum, she's not an academic. Right? She worked at The Economist and The Spectator. So journalist, if you're on the inside, propagandist, if you understand, right? Worked at a member of the editorial board of the Washington Post. So she worked for Bezos as a propagandist, as a Bezos propagandist. She gets an award for her propaganda from the propaganda people for writing a propaganda book about the Gulag. Staff writer for The Atlantic and senior fellow at the Aurora Institute. So basically, she's been a propagandist her whole life. And here's somebody who actually works as a historian, right? An academic. And he just goes through it and just chapter by chapter, page by page, is just like, she says this, provides no sources. She says this, but omits these sources. She says this, but then provides a source that counters what she said. And it's just like that, just over and over again. He's just like, but this doesn't make sense. She omits this. Like, and so what you end up with, after going through a criticism like this, which is quite long, as you can see, right? And of course, he's providing sources for his own statements. And yeah, I hope that this review will help readers and scholars to be cautious in referring to Red Famine and to be alert to the problems in this kind of writing. And yeah, when even academics avoid confronting popular histories that mislead the public, they perpetrate a problem in the history field. Like, but what it taught me, and what I think is true about that fellow, is that he's not dumb. He's not stupid. He's trying. He's trying. He read a book. He provided the book as a source. He's just been taken in because the system of propaganda is much, much bigger than he imagines. That the issue isn't one of stupidity, it's an issue of imagination. And that I feel as though I was more persuasive and more convincing by simply saying to him, okay, you provided a source. I'm going to show you how this source has taken you in, and how you are believing a propaganda system that is designed to lie to you. I'm going to show it to you pretty clearly, and I'm going to show it to you using your own source, using the Wikipedia page from your own source. That's how easy this has gotten now. And that if he himself have read that book and then thought to himself, okay, let's see what someone else has to say. Let's see. So rather than saying Anne Applebaum is God and the only thing we need to talk about, well, let's see what critics have to say. Oh. And then very steadily you can start to understand that organizations like the Lionel Gebler Prize and the Duff Cooper Prize aren't really interested in integrity and telling the truth about what's going on. They're interested in providing a propaganda system and perpetrating a narrative on behalf of their own empire. And I think that's a tough thing to realize. I think that's a tough thing to acknowledge. I think it's difficult for people to acknowledge that the country that they live in, especially if they have found themselves in that small minority of people, liberals mainly, who are fairly comfortable. Like, if you're a comfortable liberal, I think it's very difficult for you to accept that your country is untrustworthy and that your country lies. I think that's a very difficult thing for people to accept. And I don't think it comes from a place of stupidity. And so I don't think it's persuasive or in our interest. That even though, in the largest possible sense, it is stupid, it is foolish, in the closer reality of how people are operating, it isn't. It isn't. And so patience, love, compassion. Like, how far would have Morpheus gotten with Neo if he was just calling him stupid? Jade says, do you think the woke products are to test how much of the gun-wielding market stops buying those products and test for radicalized members of society? They'll do the woke stuff until it stops making money. Sorry, bud. Conrad, I stream 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm trying to do Monday through Thursday, but the truth is that my job is getting more and more ridiculous. And so I'm having to make more concessions. I'm probably not going to even be able to do a Thursday stream next week because we don't have enough staff. That things got really ridiculously busy and we just don't have enough staff. And so I've been called in to do more work. And Conrad, the Patreon is in the description. So you can just save the Patreon page. If you can't donate now, you can donate later. You could just save that Patreon page. You don't need to wait for me to stream. You can just do it that way, bud. I hope you're all doing well out there, guys. I think this is a good note to close down on. Like the stream, share the stream, hit the bells, hit the whistles, do all the stuff, guys. Thank you all for being here. Always remember, each and every one of you is a quantum being walking around in quantum energy. These billionaires are spending hundreds of billions of dollars in the hopes you'll never realize it. You'll just stay the good little commodity they need you to be. Rebel, revolt, repent. Good luck. We're going to need it.